just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. The trials are done and dusted, but I have a huge announcement, Kangaroo. A huge announcement. Merch dropping next week, the 7th. So that's 7 days from now, Monday at 7 p.m. New South Wales time. New merch drop, and you guys are going to love this merch drop. We'll probably in the next few days we'll put up pictures so you can see what the shirts are, but they're different. They're I think. Guru, you know what these shirts are going to be.
I had a little sneak peek, and I'm a little bit excited. I think they're going to be the goods,
mate. If you love footy, this is right up your alley. Right up your alley. But I'll save the suspense for when we put the picture up of the shirt. So 7 p.m. New South Wales time. It's for Bloke Club members only. So go to bloke.club, join up. It's completely free. You don't put any details or anything like that. Completely free. You just sign up with your email address, all that kind of stuff. It takes 20 seconds. And the shirts and the merchandise, all the merchandise is for Bloke Club members only next Monday, 7 p.m. New South Wales time. As usual, guys, get in quick. We never know how these launches are going to go. Sometimes they sell out in 24 hours. Sometimes it's in 5 minutes. So if you want the 2022 Round 1 season merch, be there Monday, 7 p.m. New South Wales time. I cannot wait to show you guys. This might be my favourite drop. It might be my favourite drop. But we've got the great Gurino Kangaroo here, Gurachi. How was your weekend, big fella?
Yeah, good, mate. Plenty of footy on. I sat there on Saturday afternoon, and when the 2 o'clock game got cancelled, I kind of had a little tantrum to myself.
Yeah, I was filthy.
My missus sort of went, "Are you for real? You got 6 hours of footy coming your way, and you're having a tanty about the 2 p.m. game getting pushed back." And I sort of had a little moment of reflection, but that's how excited I am, mate. Great games of footy on the weekend too.
You know what? I feel like, and I just off memory, I don't feel like trials have ever been this high quality. I really don't. I feel like the players are getting so skillful now. Like, we watched the Eels game, and the lack of handling errors by a team that was fully throwing the pill around was super impressive. You go back to the All-Star game. I mean, a lot of the games like Rabbitohs versus Dragons, they were up in the high 70s for completion rate. For a trial match, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to also consider most of it was played underwater this weekend. You've also got to consider that these guys that are coming in as reserve graders, they haven't played as much rugby league over the last few years as what they should have, so the quality we're getting is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that especially like in the weather, you know, like it wasn't like a dry track and we could be sitting here going, oh, it's perfect weather for footy and that. Most games were torrential rain. If not torrential rain, it had just rained, which makes the ball even more sticky. So, mate, the quality of footy, and I just think that Fox League putting the trials on is so cool because you really get to see the next generation, and you, as a fan that may not have time to look through programs of Q Cup or may not have time to watch Queensland Cup, you get to watch some absolute guns coming through. And in 10 years' time, as we spoke about last week, you look back, like, man, remember when he was just a young fella coming through? He was a bit skinnier, a bit less confident. His hairstyle is probably shit compared to what it is in 10 years' time. So, yeah, really exciting times. I absolutely loved it. Now, some stores in the spotlight for Bloke in a Bar beer. Guys, get around it. Get around it. Matter of fact, from March 1st, we will be in every single IGA that sells alcohol, every single celebrations, and every single bottle-o in New South Wales and ACT. So celebrations, bottle-o, and IGA. Celebrations, bottle-o, and IGA. Now, we got put into a program that's with ALM. So we need, if you love Bloke beer or you're going to try it or you're a fan of the show and you do drink beer, we need your support. Go down, grab a case, go to your local. We need you to get into celebrations, bottle IGA, because if we go really well here in New South Wales and ACT, they're going to put us in every single one of those stores across the entire country. And if that happens, that takes Bloke in a Bar to a whole new level and gives us way more resources to do the coolest shit you've ever seen. And that's just being completely transparent. That's being, you know, if the beer goes well, the sports network goes well. If the beer goes shit, the sport network stops existing. So that's
waves.
Mate, that's completely transparent. So celebrations, IGA, and bottle-o, every single one in New South Wales and ACT from March 1st. But the stores in Spotlight this week are Barong Bowls Club, the Imperial Hotel, Maitland Hotel, on tap there. So it's on tap at the Imperial Hotel at Maitland Hotel. DY Hotel, Paul's Liquor, all stores. So every single store for Paul's Liquor. Taree West, Food and Liquor. The great Taree. That's Latrell stomping ground,
That's
isn't it?
Latrell territory, yeah.
Taree West, Food and Liquor, the Pack and Ham Bottle-O in Victoria, Louis Liquor Barn Cairns, Reef Gateway Early Beach, Charlie's Superstore Gympie, Celebrations Bocarina Beach, Currumbin Tavern, Redland RSL Club, on tap in Redland RSL Club. Again, Celebrations, Bottle-O and IGA in every single one, New South Wales, ACT. If you love the content, please get out there, because if we go well here, it changes everything for us. It truly changes everything. And as always, appreciate your support. But let's get into the news. So, report last week came out that the Broncos have offered Selwyn Cobbo roughly $330K a year extension from 2023. Now, this is all reportedly. The only concerning thing about this is if it's the report is usually an exaggeration of how much they're offering. So, for them to say $330K for Selwyn Cobbo over 3 years after 2023, that's a really conservative. Like, that must be not must be the figure, but Guru, you've been around for a while. Kangaroo, you've been around for a while. They usually exaggerate contract numbers, correct?
Yeah, they're normally blown out of proportion. And, geez, if it's $330K a year, he might have a cardboard cutout as his manager just quietly. That's just, I mean, well done to Brisbane if they get it.
Well, Brisbane apparently confident gets done very soon.
If it does, absolute bargain.
If it does, it might be this. It's almost on the level of Payne Haas signing that 6-year deal. But look what's happened with the Payne Haas situation.
Yep.
Look where we find ourselves, where, there's so much going on with him. Selwyn Cobbo, as a Broncos fan, please, dear God, sign for $330K a year. Please. As a Selwyn fan, bro, you're worth more than $330K a year. I know he's still young. I know he's still got a lot to prove. We saw on the weekend his attack was brilliant. Some of the defensive stuff in fullback play he needed to work on. But I think we can all see what this kid can be. $330K a year for essentially the next 5 years. So he's got 2022. So he's probably on minimum right now, I'd assume. So 125 or 100. 2023, let's say he's on 150. Selwyn Cobbo for the next 5 years to be on $330K, it almost seems like impossible. Like, it almost seems that, like, it almost seems like the NRL would step in and go, like, that's way undervalued. Not that they would. In saying that, if the Broncos can do it and Selwyn doesn't care about money and he more cares about the team and he more cares about, taking the club to a whole new level, then fair play to him, like, respect to him. But $330K seems extremely low. I
mean, in a world where the Broncos are paying him that in 3 years' time, when he's got experience, he's been through the highs and the lows, absolute bargain. Yeah. It's scary to think about what they could do with the rest of their side then. If you do manage to lock Selwyn up, and then, we've spoken about it a little bit, whether it's a KP, a Munster, one of these guys, it's going to leave a fair whack of cash there to be able to grab someone, which is sort of, you've spoken about it before, it's what the Roosters sort of did with Radley and Cam Murray as well. Had them cheap for a long time. So, yeah, I don't understand how this can be correct, to be honest with you.
I'm with you.
It puzzles me.
When I saw it, I mean, as usual, in the article it said $1 million contract. And they say that to make it sound like, oh, shit, $1 million. And then you go, oh, it's a 3-year extension. That means it's about $333,000 a year. What's interesting is, like, last year I was, like, saying, as soon as I saw Selwyn, I was saying, we need to extend him right now. And, a lot of people in the comments were like, he's already locked up to 2023. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't get it. You want to get him now because he's just grateful to be getting a crack in first grade. That's what Cam Murray got signed on a 4-year deal, like, in his first few games. Victor Radley, the similar situation. I think Victor Radley even before. And so you need to identify these guys and go, wow, there's something special about this kid. We take a bit of a risk on him. Put it this way. If you had offered him that after his first grade debut, I reckon he takes it. And I reckon it's a good bargain for both people.
Mate, I would still sit here and think, for his potential, I reckon that's unders. Considering you're going to 2026, it's a long way away. Like, mate, I reckon a year ago, this deal would have been really good for Brisbane. Now it is just an absolute gold mine. Yeah,
well, that's what I mean. That's what I was saying a year ago. I was saying we need to lock this guy up because I know what it's like to be a rookie. And you're just so grateful to be there and so in awe of, like, I'm wearing a Broncos jersey. You don't have enough self-belief, not self-belief, but you don't rate yourself so highly. You're not so arrogant to believe that you deserve a $500K contract when you've just got your first grade debut. And so that's why I said in that first year, lock him up immediately for another 4 or 5 years. This guy, you can clearly tell by the way he plays. Same situation with Reece Walsh. Same situation. Before he played NRL, if he wants to play NRL, and I'll go back over old Graham, but what happened with Reece Walsh wasn't about the money. It was about Broncos said to him that he wasn't ready for first grade, and he thought he was ready for first grade. If I'm the Broncos back then, and I said this when it all happened, I go and I sit down and I go, okay, do we have a specialist fullback for the next 10 years? Jermaine Asako has been trying to mould himself into a fullback, and, he has some solid games for sure. But is he our fullback for the next 10 years? If he was, you'd think that he would have landed that spot at least 12 or 16 months ago. That's where you make the risky play of going, you know what, Reece, if you re-sign, we'll start you the season. You get him to re-sign. He goes 4 games. You see how he goes. Because if Jermaine Asako, you can always put him on the wing. But let's say Jermaine gets upset or pissed off or whatever. That's the risk you have to take to keep a guy like Reece Walsh, because he's a specialist fullback and he has such good talent, and you haven't had a specialist fullback. Darius Boyd has gone 2 years ago or whatever it was, and they let him go. Imagine the Broncos side right now with a Reece Walsh in it at the back there.
And I mean, have they learnt from their mistakes? I mean, if I'm Selwyn looking at that offer, I guarantee you there would be at least 13 other clubs that would be willing to top that.
What do you reckon? We spoke about this off air. I honestly reckon Selwyn could get 500 to 600 conservatively at a lot of clubs right now.
Mate, you're paying 500 for consistent back rowers at the moment. This guy's a needle mover. Whether we like it or not, certain positions have more value in a football team.
Absolutely.
They impact the result more.
Tell me about it. I was on fucking 50 grand my whole fucking career.
He plays a position, or he will play a position of fullback, where he will directly impact the result each and every week. Like, you're really consistent back rowers, you're consistent front rowers that are playing their role but aren't moving the needle in that regard. Some of them are getting double this.
Yeah.
Realistically, I think you have to value positions a little bit differently. And the position that he plays, paired with the ability that he has, raw ability, it's batshit crazy. I would be pushing that number way up if I was Brisbane. I'm worried that Selwyn might sort of look at this and go, are they for real? That's my worry.
The other thing is, so maybe the Broncos are putting out we're confident. It's just all about the pressure play of you put that in the media, then the kid may feel like, oh, fuck, I better take it. I don't want to upset, the club. And look, we're speaking from a purely player perspective. We have to speak from the club's perspective. It's they did give an opportunity. They have his best interest at heart, all that kind of stuff. And the club, it doesn't want to pay overs, because that's how they got in the mess that they were in. A couple of years ago, we had to let go of all these players. So you can totally understand why the club is trying to do this. I just think it's probably 12 months too late. If he does re-sign for that, fair play to Selwyn, I got a lot of, at least if he does re-sign for that, that he is truly there to change that club. He's truly there about the club and understanding he's taking a pay cut to build the Brisbane Broncos up. But I can't see him taking that. I can't. It'd just be because this isn't right now. This is 2024. So that would be his 2024 contract. Selwyn Cobbo when he's about 21 years old, 22.
And if Selwyn is, a big enough Broncos man to take that, good on him. But I just think at some point over the next few years, when they're then going to be signing back rowers for 500K, surely he's going to look around the room, isn't he?
Well, I mean, surely Payne Haas was looking around the room going, look what I'm offering, and I'm on 400K. So, yeah, really interesting. Again, I was just so surprised, because I was like, surely with an article, they would have inflated that number just to make it, because from a purely PR perspective, let's say I'm the Broncos and I'm trying to get him for cheap as possible. And plenty of clubs do this, and it's just 101 footy. It's a part of the game, no knock on anyone. You put out that we're offering him 600K a year. You put it out there, leak it, no sources though, so that it puts pressure on, from the public of what, he's not willing to take 600K a year. That's why I'm so surprised that the figure was so low, because it's there's no pressure on someone to take that.
It's not like the Broncos are no strangers to leaking things
out. Oh, yeah. I mean, every club does it. It's just part of the interest of the club.
I mean, at 330K, if I'm Wayne Bennett and I don't manage to land a Walsh or a KP or a Munster, fuck, it'd be a good get for him to get the Broncos next big thing.
Well, that's the word is that they're trying to stave off a Dolphins raid. They're trying to stave off a Wayne Bennett coming to him and saying, mate.
That would be terrible PR. That would be awful. There's the other side of that it would be the second Broncos fullback Peter O'Sullivan has taken from them. Yep. Reece Walsh into Selwyn. the optics would be terrible if he ends up at the Dolphins.
And, oh, man. Yeah, so really interesting. It was such an interesting article. Again, it's all reported. It's all allegedly. So, don't take it to the bank. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Who doesn't believe that the Broncos are trying to re-sign Cobbo right now? They clearly are trying to re-sign him right now with a new club coming to town after losing Reece Walsh. A lot of rumours that Reece Walsh is going to sign with the Dolphins. And, that's by proxy such a knock on the Broncos. Can you imagine Reece Walsh lining up for the Dolphins against the Broncos when the Broncos develop this guy and they tear it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's guaranteed the Broncos are trying to re-sign him, but we just don't know how much this... Sometimes I wonder with the Broncos, it's like, are they so in their own world that they don't... to them, they're like, young kid coming through... This is a good offer. For example, Selwyn Cobbo coming through 2006, 2007. It's a great offer. It's like, mate, you're a part of a premiership winning... we are the best club in the comp.
The landscape has changed, though.
Do you think that could be...
Yeah, I think that could be part of it. I mean, you know more about than me if it's the same heads that are in these chairs making these decisions. But, I mean, as you said, if you would have done this in 06, 07, it is a different situation. But
it's a bargain.
It's a bargain, yeah. But... Selwyn would also go, fuck, you know what? I'll play Origin here.
100%.
I could win comps here, respectfully, and even more so after what we've seen the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's not the landscape of the Brisbane Broncos right now.
And that's what I mean. Do you feel, and this is, I'm biased, obviously biased towards the Bronco, but do you feel from an outside looking in that they're using their history in the wrong moment? They're using the club's proud history and not realising that we're so far beyond that right now as a club that you can't afford to be offering a Selwyn Cobbo this kind of money.
Selwyn hasn't seen Brisbane win a premiership.
Yeah, fuck.
They're not...
when was he born? Would have been 2003 or something like that. So
it would have been... It would have been before he was at school.
So he wouldn't have seen it.
So he hasn't seen them win a premiership.
Yeah.
The way that I grew up looking at the Broncos was they're in a grand final every third year.
Yeah.
They've got an absolutely stacked team. The Broncos team is the Kangaroos team in a different jersey. It's not that anymore.
No.
It's not. How many players played Origin for Queensland last year from the Broncos?
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's
I mean,
it's not bizarre. It's where we're at right now.
It's where you're at. It's the reality of your situation.
Yeah, very interesting. Really interesting. I hope that it's just they've just thrown a figure out there and it's some journalist that doesn't really know footy that much. Maybe I don't know. Again, and I don't know who wrote it. So maybe they do, but. Hopefully that figure is incorrect and we're looking more towards the, 400 first year, 500 second year. You know what I mean? That's that kind of figure I can see. Okay, maybe he can take it. It's homegrown to him. He was a Broncos fan growing up. But if they get him for 330, I tell you what, even if they get him for 450 a year, I still think that's a steal.
I still think it's a steal for sure. He's got more potential than most guys in this league in a key position.
Yeah, totally. And what's really interesting with a guy like Selwyn is, so the Wynnum trial not this year, but last year, he wasn't a part of the Broncos squad. And I just put up, and Reece Walsh went really well in that trial. I was like, Reece Walsh killed it, rah, killed it. And then the amount of people that were like, Selwyn Cobbo killed it. And I was like, yeah, but he wasn't playing for the Broncos. First of all, I looked at the Broncos side and I was like, I don't remember seeing him come through. And they're like, no, he was playing for Wynnum. And I went back and looked and I was like, holy shit. So that's how much, I guess, he wasn't even identified then yet. I mean, he may have come to some camps and all that stuff, but he wasn't in the first grade squad at that stage or on the edges of it. But that's how good he was. In the trial where he would have been 17 years old probably, he's one of the best players on the field against the Broncos, squad. And
really just to show you where he's at right now, he's coming into first grade. He hasn't played 50 games. He's playing first grade. I wouldn't say he's a first grader yet.
No way.
And I mean, you look at the level that he's at. He's an established Q Cup player for me. And mate, you go and have a look at what he did last year in the Queensland Cup.
Grand final was crazy.
That's where he's going to be in 3 or 4, 5 years in the Broncos. And I think that's the way you've got to look at this contract. You're not buying Selwyn for now. You are buying Selwyn for 2025.
Absolutely.
When he's an established first grader and he's doing the shit that he's been doing in Queensland Cup, taking the piss out of the competition to some extent.
Yep. I think, how last week we were talking about you want your stars to, when they get the ball in a trial, be like, they're a step above. Now, aside from 2 lapses in defence from Selwyn, one was miscommunication and then one was just poor positioning. Aside from those 2 things, he looked a level above for the Broncos. He was one of our best. against essentially a full-strength Cowboys side. He's 19 years old. He's 18 years old, you know?
And he looks good he has to create things for himself at the moment. I think once you get Reynolds and there is a bit more structure, he will get good ball in such better positions with more options available to him. So, we're both huge fans of Selwyn. This is an absolute bargain if Brisbane come home with it. And if I was Selwyn and his management, I think I'd be looking around the room before I pen to paper here.
Wow. I mean, and it's not like his value is going to go down over the next year or two. Like, you could just say, no, we don't accept it.
Mate, it's the NRL. If he plays terrible for the next year, clubs will sign him the year after off potential.
For sure.
They can turn him around. It's the NRL. That's how it works.
Yeah. What do you got there,
I was going to say, it was Pete Badella wrote that, who is like the top dog up in Brisbane.
Okay, so he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even more interesting.
What? That's $330K a year? I don't know, mate. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're wrong, Guru.
No, it doesn't matter. Maybe we are. It wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last time. But, I don't know. It just doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make sense.
So, interesting to keep tracking that. Now, huge blow for the Sharks. Huge blow. Cam McInnes out for up to 4 weeks after a minor surgery on his knee. Is this concerning? Or is it just, minor surgery, whatever?
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on. I'll tell you what I found really interesting with this McInnes situation, and maybe I'm out of touch with how it works, but he signed with Cronulla before a ball was kicked last year, then did his ACL. He pretty much did his whole recovery with the Dragons. I always found it strange. Why wouldn't the Sharks take him at that point to do his recovery, if you know what I mean? It's something that I found really interesting last year. I wonder if, it seems strange to me that he's arrived there and then 3 weeks before the season kicks off, all of a sudden he needs to have a clean out of his knee. Doesn't it just seem a bit strange timing?
Yeah. Totally.
You'd know more about these injuries than me, but it just seems...
Well, he would have got all scanned when he rocked up.
I don't understand how this is... Yeah, it just doesn't... And I'm not sitting here saying that the Dragons didn't, put time and effort into McInnes' recovery, but fuck, the Sharks, I think in general, they probably would have put...
They got more incentive.
They got more incentive to make the very best out of it and to not cut any corners whatsoever,
So do you know that it's on the ACL knee?
I believe so. That's from what I gathered. Don't quote me on that.
It could be just a, it could be his other knee.
I thought it was, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hopefully Matty can find something like that. But devastating for the Sharks for the first 4 weeks. Obviously, your spine is so important now. He was going to be there 13. I include your 13 in your spine now. So for them to change it up for the first 4 weeks when they're already running with a halves combo that has got some question marks over it, far from ideal. But just as a leader, especially in defence, you want Cam McInnes on the field.
Imagine that.
Same knee.
Same knee.
Yeah. I don't understand how that occurs. I don't.
Yeah, it does. So was it a re-injury? But it says clean out. Anyway, that's really strange. A Sharks pack with Finucane and McInnes in it, that is a fucking top tier Sharks pack. So best wishes to McInnes. Hopefully it's no big deal. It's just a small clean out and he'll be back ready. I mean, if there's one bloke that's going to rip and tear and train hard to get back, it'll be McInnes.
Yeah.
Now this next one, this to me was just really, really surprising. We've had blokes like Trindle that are missing 2 weeks for a head high. The guy was falling into his shoulder. Is it 2 weeks he's missing, Trindle?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Then we had Tyrell Fuimaono, who, don't get me wrong, was definitely worse than the Collins on Hastings. So Collins does a cannonball tackle on Hastings, and it was super dangerous. And I think it was just purely fatigue. He's just not thought and just gone back to his, 2 or 3 years ago when this was totally fine. Anyway, so he does a cannonball tackle on Hastings and only gets a fine. This, I don't understand. And we won't spend too long on this because we don't want to be too negative with refs. This isn't even a ref. This is a judiciary. I don't get that.
And I think this would have been a really good opportunity for the NRL to go heavy on Collins and use him as an example to get this out of the game.
100%.
Because we have to. We have to get this out. I understand what you said. He's tired. He's going back 2 or 3 years. I think we need a line in the sand to say that sort of shit's out. It's not. I can't understand how a guy can see a man in a two-man tackle attack the back of his knees when he's not watching, throw his body weight on him as a front rower going at a 5'8", and he gets a fucking fine.
I just don't get it.
And that's nothing against Collins. I think he's a great player. I really like him, but it's that sort of stuff we've got to get out of rugby league. It's
for sure. I totally agree.
mean,
I think Collins was just totally fatigued and wasn't thinking. So we'll take out the Collins the player. Let's just look at the technique that was used. We got to get rid of that.
But I guarantee you, if you take, instead of a fine, if you give him 6 weeks, I guarantee you Trent Robinson in his video sessions going, hey, we cannot fucking do this.
Yeah.
We can't afford to do this. That's how you get these sort of things out of our game. I don't think a fine does it justice at all.
How is Tyrell Fuimaonos, who was still wrong, bad technique, absolutely, but it happened like that, and it was in contact, like he swung around, blah, blah. How is that 5 weeks? And Collins, which was an intentional decision, it was, I don't understand this. And this is, we're already starting in trials to have situations that's inconsistent. Can you imagine Anthony Griffin right now?
Yeah, mate.
He would be fuming.
Braden Trindle had a bloke trip into him.
Yeah, trip into him.
There was no intent from Braden Trindle in that moment. For me, Collins, I think there was a bit of intent. I think I just don't understand. Once again, you know better than me. You've played the game. It all happens so fast. But I just don't understand how the mindset is to attack someone's legs when they're not watching.
It's just fatigue, man. You're just fatigued. So you just go, a lot of the time on the footy field, you don't even remember what happens. You're just reacting. You're just reacting. And sometimes you can train so much at something, like whether it's wrestling or whatever. Like, for example, like even now, if I got into contact with someone, like chest high, I would just, no matter how fatigued I was, my arms would immediately come to underhook. Immediately come to underhook. And I just think Collins was just really fatigued. It's not saying that he should have not, I agree with you.
It's not a Collins problem, it's an NRL problem.
Absolutely.
But I think this is a good opportunity to really draw a line in the sand and solve it. We've done nothing. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens if Hastings does an ACL or something in that moment. What would happen then?
But that's the concern. Is we cannot judge a judiciary finding on how injured the bloke got, because then it's like, oh, okay, he didn't get injured, it's all good. The judiciary is there to clean the game up, not to protect people from being injured.
And I agree with you, but I think that's how the judiciary looks at it sometimes. If Hastings didn't get up and play the rest of the game, I'm confident we're not talking about a fine. If Hayes Dunster would have got up and kept playing last week, I don't think he's looking at 7 weeks or whatever it was.
To be honest, I don't even think he would have been at a penalty. If he slings off or he just he falls down naturally. So really surprising. And this is in no way saying we hope Collins got 6 to 7 weeks. It's more the consistency that's really concerning. If you're a Dragons fan, you're pissed off. If you're a Sharks fan, you're pissed off. So hopefully the NRL looks at this, and hopefully there has been a review of this decision and been like, boys, going forward, we cannot be giving a guy that someone slips into the tackle 2 weeks and then a clear cannonball tackle. If you could paint a picture of cannonball,
it doesn't get any clearer, let's be honest here.
So, look, the best thing about it all is thank God Hastings is all good. Yeah. Thank God that nothing happened from it. I'm sure, by all reports, Collins, absolute legend of a bloke. I'm sure he's probably taken a step back and gone, fuck, if I'm fatigued, I've got to keep my mind about me a little bit. I'm sure that, put it this way, I'll be surprised if Collins does it again, because I think even him would probably be like, shit, that could have ended really fucking poorly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't feel like players just feel no remorse. I guarantee Collins is sitting there going, thank God Hastings didn't do his ACL.
Yeah, and he would have found him after the game and said
mate,
sorry,
100%,
brain explosion.
Totally.
Sorry, yeah.
So hopefully the NRL can focus on that, because we haven't really seen them that bad for a while now, because they got stamped out quite well.
Yeah.
Probably, 2 years ago, you reckon?
Yeah.
So that's just puzzling to me. Again, more inconsistency from the match review committee. Has Tarmau, has he been cited yet?
One game, I think it is. Yeah.
What? So he got a game?
Yep.
Is there good behaviour from Collins or something? Collins
has the slight bit of loading.
Okay, so
Slight, but Collins has no loading.
No loading. So maybe that's that, but it's not in the category of fine.
But it's dangerous. It's great. Lindsay Collins was grade 1 dangerous contact.
Really? And he just didn't. Okay. I don't understand.
Which is interesting because is a cannonball grade 1?
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't get it. And it's the same situation happened with Tamau. Like, I think with him, fatigued, wasn't thinking, because we all know, like, Tamau's not a shit bloke. Collins not a shit bloke. This is just fatigue situation. But that was pretty dangerous, the Tamau situation. Like, I can cop the 1 to 2.
Sorry, Tamau would have got a week even if he didn't have loading.
Okay. Yep. So I can cop the 1 to 2 weeks for Tamau. I think that's fair because it was really dangerous. The Collins one is just really perplexing to me. I don't understand how we came to that. I don't understand. Anyway, hopefully they sort it out. We'll try this year as much as we can not to go to MRC and the refs.
But I don't know about you, but I feel passionate about this one because I think it's a miracle Hastings is playing rugby league still.
Yeah, I totally.
And it could have so easily, and it's not about Hastings, it's about whichever player is in that situation. I mean, mate, if this was 2 weeks before Origin and he did that to Cam Munster, for example, and he was out for the State of Origin series, all of a sudden the NRL fill it in their hip pocket.
Yep.
And it's a different story all of a sudden.
Oh,
it's
mate,
carnage.
This is like the Tyrell Fuimaono one where this is a technique that has been brought into the game that's unnecessary and it is dangerous regardless of how safely you do it. It is made to anchor knee points. So I totally agree with you. I'm passionate on it as well. Like, I remember a few years ago I had a chat with the General, Luke Patton, and this is just when it was like hitting its zenith, and I think he was on the MRC then, and I said, mate, this cannonball's got to fucking go. Like, it is just fucked. Like, getting your knees blown out when you can't even see the bloke coming towards you while you're being held by 2 people, it's like the worst. It's the worst part of our game. Like, I'll take a guy bouncing up head high and every day of the week over cannonball tackle.
Just for reference, Fuimaono, Tamo and Collins all got the same charge. It was dangerous contact. Lindsay Collins, grade 1. James Tamo, grade 2. Fuimaono, grade 3.
Doesn't make any sense, man.
This is one thing that I think rugby union does really well, where if they want to get rid of something, you know it's hard and fast. If you do this, you are getting 10 in the bin. You are getting sent off. And I think this is something that we fall into grey areas. Mate, as you said, it is so dangerous. You were talking to Luke Patton about it. Why isn't this just well known that if you do this, you will be sent from the field?
I was honestly surprised. I thought he was gone for 10.
Yeah.
I
can't believe he wasn't. And now he's got a fine.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes no sense.
Hopefully this is just a one-off, you know, because
fingers crossed.
We haven't seen a cannonball tackle in quite some time. So hopefully it was just a fatigued player, made a brain explosion, fingers crossed, no one got injured, and we just move forward and we don't see it again.
Sorry,
hopefully.
I missed one small detail. Lindsay Collins has a discount for 7 years of incident-free.
Yeah, okay.
So that possibly means...
That's what I said, is he got really good behaviour.
Yeah, so I looked at the loading. He's got no loading, but I didn't see the 7 years thing. So he must
7 years good behaviour. So that must be it.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, if I'm being totally honest, and let's just take Collins out of it, I'm still not okay with it.
I'm not okay with that.
Like,
that doesn't... No.
That it's, you know... Anyway, is what it is.
And I get it if they've got those rules set out for what's he in the 3rd year of his career and he's getting a 7-year exemption. I understand that, but I think it should have been 10 in the bin. I think that they need to stamp it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And they pretty much have, as you said, first time we've seen it in a while. But I just don't think we can let that sort of stuff sneak back in.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And to be clear, we're not saying Collins or Taumau meant it. But it is very dangerous, absolutely. Brian To'o has said his parents want him to play for Australia and would love the opportunity. If not, he will represent Samoa. Jerome Luai also will let Malmaninga know closer to the World Cup. To me, this wasn't really news of like, this seems like pretty...
Yeah, I think this is what we all assumed. I hope they play for Samoa, to be honest with you. I think that'd be better for our game. The gap between... who's Samoa pick if they don't get Luai or Brian To'o is much bigger than who the Kangaroos will get.
Yeah.
If they don't have either of those two. In saying that, though, if the boys are passionate about playing for the Kangaroos, then good on them. 100%.
The Kangaroos.
Trademarked.
Yeah, honestly, the way I see this is play for whoever you want to, bro. You know, you've got heritage at Samoan and, play for whoever represents you the most. That's really as simple as it gets. If you feel like Australia represents you the most or you're the most passionate about it, play for Australia. If you feel Samoa, your heritage is makes you more passionate, play for Samoa. I don't see any issue. You know, I guess the biggest issue would be, can you let them play for Samoa then Australia? I'm still unsure on that. And then the whole, can you play for New South Wales then go and play for Samoa? I still don't know where I stand on that. I'm really torn because
I don't think anyone knows where they stand on that, unfortunately.
Because like I do think that we can't afford to lose the tradition of state of origin. Like if it becomes a Wild West, it's almost like it loses its magic. The magic is state versus state, mate versus mate. Not the problem, but the growing pains is something like 45% of the NRL is Polynesian now. So these are hard questions that we need to answer.
And it's not going to slow down.
It's not going to slow down. Yeah. Absolutely not. I think the best way you would solve this, and I don't know how they do this, because this is one thing I dislike is when some fans are just like, oh, just create this or just create that. It's like, yeah, where do you get the money from? But in a perfect world, and again, I understand we don't have the money to do this. In a perfect world, if you made all representative payouts equal, now every single team doesn't generate the same revenue. So I understand there's a difference. But if you could make it at least close-ish, take away that financial incentive that, like, if you play for New South Wales, you get nearly $100,000. You know, for Samoa, you might get you know. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know. Wouldn't be much.
Yeah.
Whereas if you could somehow get it a little bit closer, I don't mean $100,000 or $90,000, but if you made it so that like you were purely selecting off who represented you the most, I think that would be the easiest way and the fairest way to do it. But the argument against that is this is an Australian league at the end of the day. Like, this is an Australian league. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is.
It's interesting though, because I mean, I think state of origin has been built up to such a level that if you took away the 90K or whatever it is, I don't think guys would stop playing state of origin all of a sudden, you know. And I just think that money could potentially be better spent elsewhere, whether it is, you know, with Samoa, Fiji, these sort of sides. And I think it'd be better for the game long term.
Yeah,
it's a tough one.
I do think that the players should be rewarded for generating the revenue they do with Origin.
Yeah, that's also fair. Yeah,
you know, like I think that, you know, we have to remember we're so desensitized to it, but the damage that they're doing to their bodies during Origin is crazy. But also, they're generating so much revenue that if anyone should take a pay cut, it's probably like the bigwigs that aren't generating revenue. They're just, you know, getting money off it. Really.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know what the answer is to this. I'm really, really torn. I'm quite traditional in the sense that, you know, honestly, in a perfect world, I would love it to be, you know, you got to be, I don't know, in Queensland from 13 years on or something. There's a part of me that would appreciate that, being a Queenslander myself. You know, being a Queenslander growing up there, I have a connection to it. But I understand people outside looking in that, let's say that they've been over in Australia since they were 15, they might say, look, I feel like Australia is just as much as home as you do. And that may be a fair argument. So I don't know what the answer is. But this is part of the course. Whoever they feel like representing, I think that they should choose that. Now, talks have reportedly stalled between Bird and the Dragons. Eels are monitoring the situation. Now, the article I read, and again, this is all reportedly, the article I read was the Dragons offered him a substantial pay cut. He went out and saw if there was anything else out there. The Dragons then pulled the offer. The Dragons have since reportedly come out and said we would consider, you know, going back to the negotiation table, where that money that was there may not be there anymore. What was your read on the situation?
Yeah, I don't think the Dragons can afford to let Jack Bird go, personally. We've heard that they also haven't been keen on Tariq Sims over the last year, which blows me away. I'd find it hard to believe the Dragons are going to go out and find someone better than Jack Bird. I look at their squad internally. They don't have a second rower, a lock. You know, they might not even have a 5'8" as good as Jack Bird. As much as I think Amone is a great player, you know, Jack Bird's got runs on the board. You know what he's going to produce. He's a premiership winner. I'm just thinking about their squad off the top of my head. I think he's the only premiership winner, probably him and George Burgess. I mean, the Eels are monitoring this situation. I'll eat my hat if there's not another 6 clubs monitoring this situation.
It's a bit strange. Like, how much can the Dragons be possibly paying him? Because, like, the Broncos would have been chipping in part of his contract. And so have they lowballed him so much? Like, I can't imagine Jack Bird thinks or feels that he's going to get another, you know, $800,000 contract right now. I can't imagine. I'm sure he's aware that he needs to get more runs on the board, maybe a couple years of good form to get back to that spot maybe. And also, I feel like Bird has been quite good for the Dragons.
I think he's been great. If I had to guess it might be Jack Bird's manager, knowing that the Dragons have a history of paying a little bit overs for guys, just trying to do the best by Bird. I'm not sure, but I find the situation with Tariq Sims very strange. I find this one with Jack Bird very strange. I just don't think they can afford to let these guys go. And, if they were to lose Jack Bird, they got so much depth in that team that they could fill his spot, but none of them are Jack Birds.
Well, I mean, even on the weekend, he had like the most tackle breaks of any forward on the field, pretty sure. It's like 7 tackle breaks. He looked constantly dangerous. If you're going to lose a guy like Tariq Sims, you want to keep at least, there are guys that can do the job on the edges for the Dragons, but as you said, are they that extra % up that really impact games? Like Bird impact games. And I think that every time he's played, even when he did play for the Broncos, I thought he was fantastic.
Mate, he can impact games in 6 positions too.
Yeah.
He can do it all, Jack Bird.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if they've just outrageously lowballed him, or as you said, his manager's just trying to do the best for him. I don't like the whole pulling of the contract thing though. That's a bit bizarre to me. Like, it's like, what? So just because he went out and tested the market or saw what was out there, you no longer want him. It's like, is he not allowed to do the same thing that you're doing? You are reducing you're reducing his value because it's your right to as a club. Just like it's his right to go out and see, look, is there anyone else interested?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like fair ball to me. But
and then the reports are, they would come back if he was interested. It's like far out. Like, a guy like Jack Bird, you want him on board 100%. You don't want him bitter towards the club because they pulled the contract.
Once again, I don't think Melbourne and the Roosters are pulling contracts because guys are having conversations elsewhere.
Yeah. In the Dragons' defence, though, you can make the argument that, the Roosters did do it with Latrell. They did do it with Latrell. They pulled his contract. Some clubs do feel like we need to be ruthless in our standard. Like, if you don't want to be here, then we will pull the contract. So,
although the Roosters with Manu, didn't they let him look around?
Yeah, they did. They absolutely let Manu look around. But Latrell is obviously a bigger contract, more buzz around it. I think the Roosters were just like, you know what? Like, we feel we've given you a fantastic offer. Whereas I think like Manu, if there's not as much media around it, it doesn't become a shit fight. I also think like Latrell was in such a position where like literally every club would be having a go at him. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of clubs at Manu, but he's just not on that level of Latrell.
And it sort of comes back to what you said about the Broncos before. They're sort of approaching what they're doing with the mindset from 15 years ago. The Roosters are in a moment now where they can have that mindset, and they'll be okay. I don't think the Dragons are. I really don't. I don't. I think they'd be crazy to let Jack Bird slip.
Yeah, it just depends how much. Like, I don't think what would you pay Jack Bird right now? 500?
Mate, he's really hard. Yeah, 5 or 6, I reckon. Yeah, you could argue 6 or 7 to me, but I'd be more comfortable.
I'd be around 5, just because of the injury history.
Yeah,
like, I would be like, look, 500 edge back row that can play 13, 6, fullback, centre.
Yeah. But he is a premiership winner. He's played Origin. Like, all these things will come into negotiations as well. St George don't have many of those sort of guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. And just back on that Manu situation, that was interesting. Like, I wonder why they did allow Manu to really, really test the waters, and yet Latrell, it was just like, we've offered you a big contract, but if you don't take it before this period, we're pulling the deal. Really interesting. Yeah, I wonder why. Because the Roosters publicly came out and said, we've pulled our contract from Latrell before he'd even said anything. Whereas Manu, don't get me wrong, Manu is the best centre in the game, no doubt. He's one of the best players in the game, but I think with a guy like Latrell, maybe it was the media frenzy that they were worried about the Roosters.
Maybe it being South's played a role too.
As in...
the Roosters, arch rivals.
But was he linked to South yet when they pulled that contract?
He was always sort of linked to South, wasn't he? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
hard to
really
get a grasp
interesting.
on that,
It's weird how different things unfold. Manu got a good substantial amount of time to go through it, whereas Latrell, it was a big offer in a short period of time. Maybe they were talking about it for a while, and that's what the difference was. You know what? Maybe they did get the same amount of time, but we just didn't hear about the Latrell a lot. Maybe they were negotiating for months, Whereas, and Manu, for example, maybe they were negotiating for months and he came back and said, yeah, I want to stay. But yeah, there is a history for clubs to basically pull contracts. With stuff like that, I just kind of feel it's just pointless. Like, how does this help anything? If that's what you think he's worth, unless you do not want to keep him, like unless you're like, okay, that's it, you're done, we'll see you later, then I just don't understand how it helps pulling the contract. Who knows? Maybe they believe they've put him in a position where he's going to have to take a much smaller contract now. But I agree with you. I think they should keep Bird. I should think they keep Bird. Jai Arrow apparently had dinner with Billy Slater and a few other Queensland players. An indication that his dancing discretion, his Zumba discretion last year is in the past and he's in the 5 Origin selection. Look, I never thought that he was ever... I always thought that he was going to... It's such a long time between, like, Origin.
Yeah, it's a long time between series.
You know, to be sitting there, like, stinging about someone doing something wrong in camp a year before that, wasn't it? Like, it was bad, but it wasn't like, you know, getting drunk and fucking... You know what I mean?
Heaps worse things you could do. Considering the time and what was happening and, you know, it's during COVID where they weren't allowed out, essentially. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's good for Jai Arrow. Now, into... some big players that were on the bench. Croker started on the bench. Peachy was on the bench. Scott Drinkwater on the bench. Turpin on the bench. What were your thoughts about... What stood out to you the most on the bench of a big player?
Mate, I think this Cowboys half situation is very interesting.
It got more interesting after the weekend.
It got heaps more interesting. Personally, I would go with Drinkwater at 6. I said to you on the weekend, Dearden is obviously... got his foot in front at the moment, and I probably think Dearden did enough. If he already had his foot in front, I think he did enough the other night to keep his foot in front.
Mate, I tell you what, before that match, and you know, we were both going, what the fuck is Scott Drinkwater doing on the bench? Like, he's one of their best players. Then Dearden comes out and plays unbelievably. Like, it was a whole new Dearden. His defence was some of the best on the field. He was chopping blokes. He fucking picked up Selwyn Cobbo and put him on his back. Like, Selwyn Cobbo, like... So I totally agree with you. Before the match, I was like, this is the most outrageously stupid thing I've ever seen. Now I'm like, you know what? Fair play to Dearden and fair play to Payton. It's a huge call, and it seems like the right call, because right now he has 2 players that are playing arguably, you know, from the game we've seen, some of the best footy they've... At least Dearden, we know for sure that he's playing the best we've seen him play. That was the best game I've seen Dearden play since he came into first grade. And I know it's just a trial, but, you know, let's get that disclaimer out of the way. Yes, we understand it's just a trial. Thank you. But then you got to do it, bro. You got to disclaimer it, because you just know. Like,
and I put it in like 2 or 3 posts on the weekend. I was like, I'm running out of characters here on Twitter, but I've got to actually put it in. So I've got to delete more relevant stuff to remind people that it is a trial, just in case they thought I forgot
that it was a trial. Well, I mean, you saw my Dylan Brown and my Hastings one.
Yeah,
I said it twice in different ways, like at the start and at the end, just so that like you didn't forget that I was aware.
People still do. It's incredible.
Look, to be honest, Cowboys looked much better than I thought they were going to look. And I was really concerned about Cowboys going in this year, like really, really concerned. Hamiso looked energised. Valentine Holmes looked energised. It wasn't necessarily about the way they played. It was how they played. It was they seemed, you know, Cohen Hess is shooting out a line of hit blokes. Like, this was out without Jason Taumalolo. I like what I saw from the Cowboys.
They had a lot of direction. Yeah. I thought they looked really good. And
Townsend,
this is you know, I said this when the Warriors signed him last year, that there's not many premiership winning halves in this competition. If you can get one, fucking good luck to you.
Yeah,
like, they're so hard to get their hands on. He wasn't impressive at the Warriors. He played with a heap of injuries, but
he fucked his shoulder first game.
Yeah,
fair. People don't realise that.
Fair crack to him.
I think if he didn't just sign to the Warriors and he was at the Sharks, he's out for the season. I think it's because he went to the Warriors and he would have felt like a piece of shit if he rocked up, got injured, then just didn't play.
Yep.
But he was busted, man. He was busted.
I think you saw the other night the experience, especially in the rain, his kicking game was sensational. There, you know, there was one where he forced a drop out from about 40 metres out. Like, it's such an experienced head play to know just to put it in that spot in the rain, let the rain do its work, and then we'll just slide him back in. I thought he was really impressive. I said to you before the game, I can't understand how this Cowboys team thinks they don't need Scott Drinkwater in this side.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if you said to me who's their best 5'8", I'd say Scott Drinkwater. If you said to me who's their best fullback,
I'd
probably say Scott Drinkwater too.
Totally.
Yet he's not in the team. I don't know if he gets a 14 jersey. You'd have to assume he will, but I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he doesn't. Between Robson, Cotter, if they played Taumalolo in the 13 instead of the front row, it wouldn't surprise me. If
Surely they're not going to go that route. Surely Cotter.
Don't want to.
Surely Cotter played well.
You're playing with fire, and I don't want to hear it. But Drinky, yeah, I thought Dearden was very impressive. He looked great. It's the best game I've seen him play as well. But I just, we said the other day, I can't believe that Scott Drinkwater isn't playing NRL at the moment. To think he's at the Cowboys and he's not playing NRL, it just seems crazy to me.
It's their half situation is strange. And just quickly on the Townsend thing, I've never understood the Townsend negativity. Okay, he didn't play that well last year. I get that, but I think he was Player of the Year in 2018 or 19 for this club. I just never understood people that were just completely writing off Townsend. Bad buy for the Cowboys. It's this is a premiership winning 7 that, yes, he isn't the next Jonathan Thurston, understandably so, but he's going to give every club he goes to, if he's not completely busted, direction.
It's very similar to our Dylan Brown argument, which I'm sure we'll talk about. He doesn't put up the highlights. He doesn't put up the stats. People assume he's shit.
2019, Townsend got Sharks Player of the Year. He got Players Player and Members Player of the Year.
Yeah.
That was with Sean Johnson standing next to him too. Was that 2019 come the year after?
Well, regardless, yeah.
Player
of the Year 2 years ago for his club.
Yeah.
I never understand that. Don't get me wrong, I didn't think that Townsend would go up and set the world alight, but I definitely thought he's going to add to the team, and he absolutely looks like he has. So fair play to him.
Johnson was there.
Johnson was there.
Yeah.
So Townsend's been under immense pressure online at least. So he came out and killed it. The Drinkwater Dearden situation, I don't know what the answer is. Drinkwater, I thought came on and offered.
I thought I knew what the answer was.
Yeah, so did I. Drinkwater definitely a better attacker than Dearden, in my opinion. But I just thought that Dearden steadied the ship at the first 40 minutes. Dearden was extremely steady, and one of Drinkwater's probably his weaknesses is his defence. And so maybe Payton is going for the route of whoever is the best defender in the halves, that's who I'm selecting.
I might get punched here, but were they lucky they came up against the Broncos in that trial potentially?
Maybe. Maybe. We just don't know. Again, it's just a trial. But we can only go off the information we had. And you can't tell me that they didn't at least take the result out of it. That looked like a Cowboys side with direction.
Yeah, and that was the big thing for me. And, you'll be the same. I don't read too much into these scores from the weekend. It's the teams that had direction. The Cowboys had direction. The Eels, they had direction. I mean, a lot of teams that, even Newcastle, they've got more direction than what I thought they would have at this point.
Clune is playing way better than I thought.
He's playing heaps better than I thought.
I'll be honest. When I saw Clune, a great New South Wales Cup player, a lot of talent, I just didn't know if he could take that next step. Don't get me wrong, we've seen him play first grade. So, he was a first grader for sure, but I was just is he going to have enough to impact the Knights? I agree. I think he's given the Knights a ton of direction, a ton of direction. That experience that he's been able to build up in New South Wales Cup has been priceless to the Knights right now.
Yeah, and the Knights are letting him play his game. When I watched him play a lot of cup footy for the Steelers, and I think when he got to the Dragons, they sort of handcuffed him a little bit. Yeah. He's got a touch football background. He's got one of the best right to left. We saw it on the weekend, that cutout ball. And he didn't do it at the draft. I remember when he made his debut last year, I said, get on Jordan Pierre first try here because this guy will feed. And he didn't throw the ball once out there. So I think Newcastle have sort of...
Go watch his highlights from the New South Wales Cup. He had 1 year, didn't he have 35 try assists or something outrageous?
Yeah. I think it's 2019. He explodes and has more than a try assist a game. And 80% of them are him throwing a 20-metre ball to the left winger.
Yeah, he's definitely added to that Knights side. I still think it may be a tough year for the Knights, but I think that they're looking a bit better than I was expecting, for sure.
Yeah, I have to agree to that. Yep.
So, Drinkwater, Turpin, Drinkwater, Dearden, it's a great headache for Payton to have. Great headache to have. I think that it seemed like the Cowboys players are more on board with what Payton wants. Hamisa looked good. I think Valentine Holmes in the centre did a real good job. That underline that Dearden hit
It's a good line.
It's a great line. It's a great line. He's up against Tony Staggs, and like Staggs was solid, but didn't blow him out of the water. I mean, again, we're talking about Valentine Holmes here. Like, let's remember who's the guy that's played for Australia and played for Queensland during Queensland's dominant period, and I think he's got the record for Australian tries in a tournament or some shit. So look, great win for the Cowboys and great headache to have. I think that you'll probably see Drinkwater start at 14, and he'll come on maybe for Drinkwater, for Dearden. I agree, like with your point of if Dearden was already ahead by a step, there's no way he played good, so he didn't play bad enough to take that step back. And so Drinkwater came on and killed it. I just think that clearly Dearden is ahead for Payton. Me personally, I would probably have Drinkwater in the 6, but I wouldn't argue with having Dearden in the 6.
I wouldn't argue, I just think Dearden and Chad, I think they're just too like for me. That's my issue.
Maybe they need that, though, the Cowboys, because they just have no direction, and they just need direction. Then they can just allow Hamiso and Holmes to be the explosive play. Just let them be the ones that create everything. But great signs for...
It's better to have too many halves than not enough like they've had over the last few years.
Like, for example, one goes down, you could bring in the other. That's a big win. Now, Croker on the bench for the Raiders. I was surprised. I thought that he played well enough to get that spot. Thoughts on Croker on the bench?
Very interesting. Tomoko played left centre.
Yep.
I don't think he misses the round 1 team. I think he has to be there. I assumed he would be at right centre. He played left centre, which has been Jared Croker's spot for a long time. So, I don't know. Was that saying something?
It's ruthless. It is ruthless.
I mean, Jared Croker played left centre the week before against a reserve grade Roosters side with a pretty reserve grade Canberra Raiders team to some extent. And then for him not to be in the side and for them to play Tomoko, who I think has been their best back of the preseason, at left centre, I think that might be saying something.
Far out. It's so
crazy.
Ruthless. It's so ruthless. Like, is this Sticky kind of playing his hand in the sense of like for example, even CNK, who isn't, he's not a long-term Raiders player, but like it seems like Ricky's just gone, you know what? I'm breeding the new guys. I'm breeding the young guys. I'm leaning towards it because every week with the Savage situation and the CNK situation, I get more like, is he really going to play Savage over CNK at fullback?
The other thing about this Croker situation is that I would argue things have fallen his way. Harley Smith has unfortunately done his ACL. That's one less setter to compete with.
Yep.
Rapana's suspended for the first 2 weeks. I mean, things have fallen Jared's way, and he seemingly still isn't going to be the left centre. If he's not going to be the left centre, I don't think you can play him on the wing.
Just quickly, I totally forgot. How filthy would you be if you were Rapana right now?
Yeah.
A shoulder charge that, hit his ribs or whatever. Oh my God. He got 2 weeks for that shit. Fuck. I'd be fuming if I was the Raiders. Anyway, apologies. I mean, you're totally right. I think Ricky's really shown his hand here. Like 23. He was number 23. Did he even get on for that long? Did he even get on?
I don't even recall. I'm not sure.
He got on for a little bit.
Yeah.
But not... NRL.com didn't record anyone's minutes, but he had stats. So.
I don't even remember him getting on for I don't remember walking to get... Yeah, I don't remember it.
Is he named next Tuesday? Gun to head, is he named?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think so. I think that's like your third trial, you're playing your starting side. Aside from people like Guns that are injured, you're playing your starting side. You need one game at least. Like, doesn't matter. You can be fucking Nathan Cleary, Tom Trbojevic. You need a game of footy.
He had 2 runs.
2 runs. How many metres?
21.
It's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Yeah, 10 metres each run.
I also personally think, and I haven't seen a heap of him, but the guy that was playing right centre, Semi, I don't think defensively he's probably up to it either, to be honest with you. He worries me watching him. He's the guy that I would be going
He's
at.
a big boy. Fuck,
he's a big
strong
boy, yeah. But
no, I agree with you. Defensively, he does make some errors. He was really good the week before. It's, I don't... I feel upset. I feel sad.
Yeah.
Like, Croker's a club legend, like an actual club legend.
Yeah.
That, again, we're not here to, just put our mates in, that's for sure. We're here to win comps and win premierships. But you can't help but feel a tinge of surely this isn't the way Croker goes out.
You can't, I understand when fans don't like certain players. If you've got a problem with Jared Croker,
you've got a problem with yourself.
yeah, you gotta look in the mirror.
Yeah. Fuck me. If you have a problem
Long,
with Jared
hard
Croker,
look. Yeah,
mate, he has been in the bubble of Canberra for 15 years or 10 years, never set a foot wrong. Think about how many blokes have gone down there and fucking done something stupid. This bloke has been in there forever.
What'd you do if you're having a beer and a steak with someone and they started bagging?
Mate, I'd just say, shut the fuck up. I'd honestly say, shut the fuck up.
I don't know about it.
I'd say, mate, fuck off.
400 blokes in this competition, you pick Jared Croker?
Mate, tough. I mean, what do you reckon the chat? Let's say assume he doesn't make it. Is a chat from Ricky, look, mate, you know, you can work your way back into the side. We want you back in reserve grade, having a red hot crack. And Croker's such a humble guy, he'll do that. So there's no questioning that. But the thing with Ricky, he seems to be like, if you're his guy, as in like if he chooses a young guy, like look at Savage. Look how like much he's been pushed to that fullback position. And Savage is an absolute gun, but he's been given a fair crack at it. It seems like Ricky's like really loyal to the people that he picks through next. And Timoko has been really good. Like I was really impressed. I actually was surprised that Timoko didn't play the week before. I thought that he was young enough and inexperienced enough to do that. But it just shows you how much raps. And he delivered on the weekend for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the word coming out of Canberra is that he's the safest one in the back line.
Really?
That's what I've heard, which I
mean, okay.
Mate, I think ability-wise, I back it. But just as you said, experience, you know, the other guys that are in this team, it surprises me.
Well, I mean, I felt like Sebastian Chris had the jump on him last year for a period there.
Well, mate, that's the other thing. Sebastian Chris, seemingly, he's not going to be in the centres either. I mean, it's surprising how it's playing out in Canberra for me. I was so shocked that Timoko was playing left centre. I would have put my house on he was going to be the right centre, and I thought that makes sense. But for him to play left centre, it's very interesting.
I just wonder, like, if I'm a selector and maybe I have a bias to Croker because I've seen him over the last 10 years and Ricky has more insight than I, but I don't see what you lose or what you risk by having Timoko on the right edge and Croker on the left edge. But I do see massive risk in having Timoko and Semi playing in the centres. I can see that as like, you know, this is two really young, inexperienced players. We could get torn apart on edges there. Plus also Croker's goal kicking.
Yep.
In his leadership, the boys all love him or respect him. Very interesting. Very interesting.
The goal kicking they'll be okay because they've got Jamal Fogarty now, but it's the leadership that is.
But Croker's got. Like, he's one of the best in the comp.
85% sort of guy. Yeah, for sure.
Like one of the biggest concerns for the Roosters right now is they don't have a goal kicker.
Yeah, we're hearing it's going to be Sam Walker.
And like, you know, Sam Walker, great player, but he's not a good goal kicker in my opinion.
He's not a great, you know, I mean, I've seen him from the sideline not make the try line.
Yeah, his technique is quite strange actually. He's solid, but
53%.
Sam Walker.
Yeah.
Last year, wasn't he 65 or some shit?
No, 23 from 43.
Holy moly.
It's pretty, for NRL standard.
That's concerning. Like, people don't understand, it's not just the 2 points you're getting, it's the morale of like, I scored 2 tries and I'm ahead by 8 points. As a team, I'm like, man, who gives a fuck? Like, we can get that back. I scored 2 tries, I'm ahead by 12 points. That's a completely different fucking ballgame.
I think it was the Cronulla Sharks a couple of years ago. I think that they lost 6 games off goal kicking.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
And if it was
Ricky Stewart the coach?
No, it wasn't that long ago. But it was like,
not only that, they lost 6 games when they scored more tries.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and it's crazy. And I think for the Roosters, I mean, Sam Walker at 50% last year, goal kicking didn't matter for the Roosters, realistically. They were able to beat teams by 30 and 40 for the vast majority of the times. But this year, I think the competition will be closer. And when you're taking on Penrith and Melbourne, it matters. There's no doubt about it.
I wonder what they're doing, the Roosters, about that, because it's like... Anyway, we'll get to the Roosters. We'll get to the Roosters. Raiders, very, very interesting. Do you think Savage did enough to steal the fullback spot from CNK on the weekend? No, I didn't hear that.
No.
I think you start Savage on the wing. You let this freak of nature learn his trade on the wing, get used to it, because there is no denying, in my opinion, he's one of the best ball runners in the NRL, period. Like, his ball running is solid as. At least one of the best rookie ball runners in the comp. I think you put him on the wing, give him half a year, even a whole season, and then you let him challenge CNK again next off-season.
It has to be CNK. I can't. Respectfully, I watched Savage last week kick a ball into knees, regather it and score. I saw the try 15 times and I heard his name all weekend. He didn't do that this weekend. Mate, you're the first person I've heard say savage in 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, just before we move off that, I thought one more guy, which we'll talk about him coming off the bench. Nelson Asafa Solomona looks like he is going to be a maniac.
He looks angry. A scary, angry man.
He was terrifying. He was breaking 2 tackles and offloading with just about every single run.
I feel like his footwork's gotten better.
Yeah.
He was stepping blokes. He's scary, bro. Like, he is...
I thought the Barley clip was scary. That one, fuck me.
Yeah, it's great the Storm get to keep him. I'm so glad that, you know, however you feel about his decision, like, I would hate for that to be the reason why we lost such a big part of our... Like, tell me another player like Nelson.
Mate, he is so important to the Melbourne Storm. It's not even fun. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago, I was going through his stats. Over the last 5 years, he's played more games of footy for the Melbourne Storm than what Cameron Smith did in any 5-year period of his career. Wow. He has not missed any football the last few years.
And yes, he is coming off the bench, but when you're that big of a body, that's very rare.
Every time you come off the bench, people are trying to whack you and put you on your back so you don't run again. Like, it's...
Oh, absolutely. Turpin off the bench for the Broncos. Do you think that's Corey Pakes? Look, to be honest, I don't really think anyone played so well that they owned their position. Outside of like Haas, Carrigan and Kobe Hetherington maybe, and Selwyn had his errors, but yeah, I don't think we saw the same Corey Pakes that we saw last week.
This entire Broncos spine, outside of Billy Walters for probably the first 2 weeks, it's like whoever plays does themselves almost a disservice.
Whoever starts
seemingly drops themselves back a little bit. It's... Apparently, I mean, do you think Adam Reynolds will play round 1? I mean, we're hearing he's in trouble, but he's posting all over Instagram that he's going to be there. He's kicking. I mean,
to be honest, if he's not 100%, I don't think he should.
Yeah,
because it's like, bro, once you're in that cauldron and that Broncos media machine starts cranking up, if you aren't playing the best you can, the pressure on Adam Reynolds this year is so outrageous. Like, watch that game on the weekend. Like, we are crying out for Adam Reynolds.
It's almost like you're just waiting for him.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. Adam will
be here. Yeah. But, like, again, Adam Reynolds is a high quality 7. But he needs people around him to be who he is as well. So we can't just rely on him. So, look, if he's not 100%, I think don't play. It's a long season. You know, it sounds really harsh, but we've been losing games for fucking the last 2 years. Losing a couple more isn't going to fucking hurt us anymore.
Guns ahead next Tuesday, 9, 6, 14 for the Broncos. Who do you reckon?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to the Broncos.
Sweet. We hate talking about Brisbane around here.
Mate, like, there's like comments in the thing like, oh, I wonder how Kempy's going to explain this away. It's like, bro, we've been losing for 2 years, you fucking idiot. Like, what have I been doing for the last 2 years? Like, what are you talking about? Acting like we've been on this mad run and then all of a sudden we lose and I've got to get on here and be like, oh, no, we only lost because of this and we only lost. It's like, no, I've been saying that we struggled for the last 2 years. Matter of fact, I said that we aren't even going to make the 8 this year. It's fuck, some of the people shit people right. It's like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we've been losing for friggin' 2 years straight. It's no news. It's no news.
Have the suits upstairs decided that this is going to be the ambush here, or are you pushing back?
Actually, I forgot to let everyone know. This is my fault. I apologise, but I just want to make an announcement because this lines must have got crossed. I don't know what happened, but the ambush was postponed due to the rain. So I just want to let everyone know. I'm going to stare directly down the camera. I want everyone to know that, I don't know, maybe Maddie forgot to tweet it. I don't know. We don't even have Twitter. That's maybe the issue. But the ambush was postponed because of the rain. Because of the rain, I hope that everyone can understand that. No one ambushes in the rain. That's fucking stupid. Everyone ambushes when the least expected. And people expect ambushes in rain. They don't expect ambushes in great sunny days. And everyone's like, oh, we're just going to enjoy the day. There's no way people would ambush me in the light beaming down. We're going to do it in the middle of the day, 12 o'clock. But we're not going to do it in the middle of the day because it's an ambush.
Hey, Matty, is it raining for the next 6 months or what?
That's why it's been postponed. That's why it's postponed due to the rain.
Good.
So if you see any more rain in the next few days, that's adding an extra day onto the postponement.
Ambush soon.
The ambush is coming, but that's the beauty about an ambush is you don't know when it's going to come. That's the beauty. And we may have lulled you all into a sense of security with our performance on the weekend.
You're nailing your role.
Getcha. We're going to jump out of nowhere.
Speaking of postponements, the Warriors Titans has been officially abandoned and will not be rescheduled.
Really? So they're not going to play any game?
They just said they can't at this point.
That's interesting. Surely there's like some place they can just go and fucking bang
They might
each
not
other.
be able to get out of there.
Yeah, they might be flooded in. Yeah, that's true. It might be flooded in. Surely they just go play some fucking corridor footy.
Corridor.
Just go to each other's hotel and bash each other in the
not
corridor.
home. Yeah.
Corridor.
Knee
They was
footy.
set to play at Gold Coast, but that's cancelled as well. So it's not even like they're stuck in Redcliffe.
I think that hurts both of these
Massively.
teams.
Massively.
New spines and young spines for both of them. I think that's a
And
bit
also
of a
they haven't
stinger.
played their full strength sides, either of them.
Yep.
Damn, that's crazy. Okay, now, first trial of the week. Raiders beat Manly 18-16. I think... I think the Raiders look solid. I think there was the first half, they really struggled with their ball handling, but I thought they showed grit in defence. Manly, I think they just suffered from quite a few injuries early on. I think both teams can come out of this one. Yeah, all good. There's no warning signs. There's no, oh, shit, worried about this or that. I think if anything, like Manly would be like, okay, we're all good. Raiders, I think they'd probably take a little bit more out of it. The fact that they were able to come back and get the win. We have to remember where they were last year.
Oh, for sure. And look, the Raiders team last year, I mean, the reality is with this game, yes, they were down. What were they down? 16-0.
Yeah.
They threw an intercept to the fastest bloke in rugby league. Then they dropped the ball next to the second fastest bloke in rugby league. All of a sudden, it's 12-0.
Yeah.
Tough gig. The Canberra Raiders team last year, that would have been white flag stuff.
Oh, for sure.
See you later. We're done. They hung in. I thought that the halves pairing was pretty good for Canberra. Fogarty, I thought he just played his role, but that's who Fogarty is. And I thought he brought out some of the best in Jack Whiten too. I thought it was Jack's best game I've seen in quite some time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Look, I thought there was a perfect example of what Fogarty can bring to the Raiders early on in the match. So early on the match, Tom Trbojevic got tackled by Timoko and a few of the boys out. They get a 20-metre tap. They go all the way. Fogarty puts a pinpoint kick on their try line, and all of a sudden Manly are coming out of their end. Now, I'm not saying Whiten couldn't do that, but it was just a really good example of what Fogarty can do. It's just a really simple set. They've gone from nearly scoring a try to getting absolutely fucking bashed on their own try line. And that was early on in the match. So, you're not going to see that in the highlight reel. You're not going to hear about that. But that kind of stuff, to be able to take the pressure of Tom Trbojevic attacking your line and literally go all the way to the other corner of the field, that takes a good steady hand, and Fogarty offers you that.
No, mate, for sure. And I don't think there's anything more undervalued in rugby league than a steady, solid halfback.
Yeah, for sure.
There's not many of them around. You can
Shane
find
Perry, 2006, one of the greats.
Yeah, we're never going to remember Shane Perry, but the amount of these, back rowers that can break tackles and offloads that don't move the needle towards actual wins.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think this is something that people undervalue a lot. I see it in my comments all the time.
Do you think the new generation, and again, we've both got no facts to back this up, but when I think about it, I feel like sometimes that clubs can get caught up in the glamour because like the internet's there, the highlights are there, the buzz is there. You can get caught up in the glamour of these huge athletes that, are 110 kilos, stepping, offloading, and maybe that's taken away from the half. Because look how, there's a half shortage in the NRL right now. Like, the difference between Nathan Cleary and, the other outside the top 4 or 5 halves is quite massive.
It's huge.
Huge.
It is a gaping hole. It is.
So do you think that the kind of new generation of flash has kind of bedazzled a few clubs?
For sure, I think so. And I think, clubs, yes, but I think fans.
Oh, for sure.
More than ever.
Yeah.
More than ever. All that stuff about Dylan Brown. I got about 10 messages on the weekend saying, oh, thanks, you've opened my eyes to Dylan Brown. Geez, he must have worked hard this offseason to be doing that now. I'm like, he's been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
You just haven't seen it in stats or in Supercoach or in fantasy, so you think he's shit.
And people are like, oh, he had a bad year last year. I just bro, he was the best defensive outside back in the comp. How is that a bad year? If he was the best attacking player in the comp, you'd be sitting here going, holy shit, put him on $1 million.
I had something on Twitter that I put on Instagram, and I was watching the Dill Brown comments float in, and some bloke said, oh, this could work on his defense, and I looked at it and just went, I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm just going to let you get bullied via Twitter for the next 2.5 hours.
People just say stuff. They honestly just say shit.
The poor bloke got absolutely dusted.
Oh, man.
It was like Lord of the Flies on Twitter. I just thought, oh, you've kind of done this to yourself. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Like, it's people just say shit.
Yeah.
They just say stuff. From the Raiders game, I think Jake Trbojevic is looking good. He's looking real good. Best he's looked in a few years, in my opinion. He was chopping blokes. Andy's attack, I thought, was a bit better. There was a year or two where Jake was really quiet. And I was always like, is he injured or he just doesn't seem the same Jake? I mean, there was even a period there where some were saying he shouldn't be selected in New South Wales.
Once again, I think the role that he plays for Manly now under Des has changed Jake's game a little bit.
For sure.
He plays that very link man kind of role. He doesn't take as many hit ups and stuff as what he used to, which means he's not offloading as much. The way that they sort of attack, and you understand because they've got Tom Turbo waiting 2 more passes outside Jake, sort of undervalues the role that Jake plays for me. But he plays his role perfectly.
Yeah,
in this Manly side. He's another one that I think is very underappreciated because the stats and everything don't line up.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that there was a period there where he was just tackling his dick off and he wasn't being given the opportunity, and Manly was struggling, so that's probably why. But he wasn't given the opportunity. We have to remember, Jake Trbojevic, a la 3-4 years ago, was the best attacking 13 in the comp. Up there, the way we see Cam Murray, Radley, the way we see Radley now, Jake Trbojevic was like that 3 or 4 years ago, snapping blokes and just offloading, hitting Tom Trbojevic on short balls. Now he's not. You're right. He does play a very different role now than he used to. But I think he's looking the best he's looked in a while.
Yeah, no, he looks great at the moment, and I think I don't think Jake has gone backwards at all. I just think Manly's game has changed. The game in general has changed, and Des being Des, he has adapted accordingly, and it's probably had a bit of an impact on the way people see Trbojevic, but. Fuck, he goes to Origin and you see it all over again.
Yeah.
He's still got it.
Absolutely still got it. Negative, some positive from the games. Saab and Cooler. Now, we knew how quick Saab was, so it's yep, cool. Seeing Cooler in the centres there, what I loved about Cooler as well is his defence was fucking pretty good. His defence was pretty damn good. I'm pretty sure he was marked up against Timoko, and Timoko is a fucking beast running the ball. So... Mate, the Manly might have another real game-breaking outside back in their arsenal. How many weeks do you think he's off for debut?
Mate, I don't know where Morgan Harper is. I don't know if it's an injury or...
I haven't heard any. It must be injury. There's no way he wouldn't be starting.
There's no way he wouldn't be in their 30-man squads that they're picking, but... if I was Harper, I think I'd be a little bit nervous, to be honest.
If I was both, Parker and Harper.
Yeah, fair.
I just think that Cooler is.
If I was Harper, and I don't know what's going on with him, but I would be doing everything I possibly could.
Harper's not in the NRL.com casualty ward at the moment, so.
He played in the All Stars, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, geez, if I was Harper, I'd be whatever it is. I'd be trying to get myself fit for round one because you don't want to give this kid a sniff.
You don't want to give him a sniff. And with Harper and Parker, especially Harper was one of my favourite players last year in the centres. He was one of my favourite centres. I thought he was grossly underrated. Yes, his final series wasn't the best. He was just trying too hard, way too hard for himself. And everyone has that, players that play with a lot of aggression and energy, there can be moments where they just overplay their hand. You look at a guy like even Jack Whiten sometimes can do it. Gamble can do it. So it's bound to happen at some stage. But the season that Harper had was fantastic. So I do believe that Harper and Parker keep their positions for sure. But to have a guy like Cooler, would you put him at 14?
I was just about to say to you, do they run with him on the bench? I think
Dylan Walker's injured?
Yeah, I think they should run with him.
Imagine him coming on out of dummy half. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because he's electric. He is electric.
Yeah, even some of their big middles, if Marty Tapau's okay, which it sounds like he is, the offloading game of him with Cooler through the middle.
Yep.
Could be anything.
So would you, if you had to name your starting 17 right now, would you, considering that Walker is injured, would he get that 14 role?
Yeah, I think so. I reckon, they've got to find 2 new back rows for round 1. I wouldn't be shocked if one of them... And I think Ben Trbojevic is out for 4 weeks now. I think that came out this morning
Schuster, Olakau'atu, Ben Trbojevic.
So I would say that Lawton will probably start on one of those edges with Ethan Bullimore, which I think will take, Lawton obviously plays their kind of 14 role along with Dylan Walker. He's out too. I'll be shocked if Cooler's not in the team.
I mean, I want to because I just want to see him in open space again. He's he's impressive for sure.
I mean, I just love that whenever there was a turnover, I just turned my eyes to the right-hand side of the field. It's just, it's a classic, just as soon as you get an offload, DCE, bang, and you just let him go sort of thing.
Absolutely. From that trial, I think Raiders, they're showing a lot of promise, the Raiders, a lot of promise. It's just when you look at their roster, far out, it's good. It's a good roster. Plenty of depth. Fogarty has turned up really well. I really like the Schneider, is it? Schneider?
Brad Schneider, yeah.
He came on for a little bit. He's silky, man. He's silky. I think he'll be pushing for a spot this year. I really do. I really like Schneider. I think he's got a lot to offer. I know he's young, but there's just something about the way he moves that you can see that he's got something about him. And I thought he was really good in the trials before. So the Raiders, on paper, are in a really strong position.
Who plays 13 for them? I think it's safe to assume our boy Adam Elliott will not be in the 13. They seemingly want to play him everywhere but 13.
Look, I don't know. I guess Elliott Whitehead, one of their best, back rowers they've had in a very long time.
Most consistent edge forward.
It's a strange one. I don't understand it, but maybe it suits their style of play.
Even more interesting, CHM was named at 13 last week, then they swapped at the last minute to bring Elliott Whitehead in. I mean, if he was going to be your 13, I don't understand why, unless Ricky Stewart's trying to play mind games in fucking trials. It just seems bizarre to me how. But
we're going to speak about, before we get to the next trial, we're going to speak about Doggies versus Knights last week because we didn't get a chance to speak to that because it obviously played after our podcast. Now, we've spoken about the Knights, so we don't need to speak about them. Thoughts on what you saw from the Doggies?
What I saw from Canterbury is what we've been saying for 2 years. They need a 7. I don't understand how we get to Canterbury and so many general conversations. It's like the halfback jersey all of a sudden doesn't matter for them. It's okay. I don't. It's rugby league. You need a kicking game.
But Trent Barrett literally came out after the game and said we need our 7 to have a good kicking game and steer us around. It's like, and with this is with all due respect, Trent Barrett, legend of our game, but I feel like saying you answered your own question, bro. Averillo is a gun, and it's almost getting to the point, in my opinion, where it's actually negatively affecting Averillo's career by
100%. You can see it on his face.
Get him where he belongs. He's such a good player, and I just think it's unfair to expect this kid to just be the 7 that you need. It's very you could look at the Melbourne Storm. Oh, look, Cooper Cronk became a 7. Jerome Hughes became a 7. They're one of the best teams we've ever seen in rugby league. That whole system, that's a very different ask than asking Averillo to come into the Wooden Spooners and a team that can barely win a game over the last 2 years and lead the team around in an unfamiliar position. I don't understand. I don't understand. And maybe there's something that he's seeing that we're not, because he's one of the best halves of his generation.
I'll tell you what worries me the most, and it's 2 words that if I had $1 for every time I hear it from Canterbury fans, I wouldn't be sitting here with you respectfully. But Burton, Burton isn't going to be the 7. Burton isn't
Look what Burton did at Penrith. Did he play that well when he was in the halves?
He wasn't even playing in the halves. He was Dally M's centre of the year, and he was unreal on the best edge in rugby league. But this is a young guy coming to your club who's, going to be playing 5'8" with a fullback, winger, centre playing halfback who doesn't have a kicking game. And, people say, Burton can kick. I'm like, Burton can kick the living shit out of a ball, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's your last tackle options, which is why you're not winning games of football.
Yeah, because you get down there.
You get your way down there. You got no trouble getting down there.
Yeah.
It's your last tackle options. And there was a moment where Cooper Cronk was talking last week where Averillo put in a kick and he had a heap of room behind the Canterbury winger, and he just hit him on the chest. And Cooper Cronk sort of said, you've got to nail that kick. It's got to go into that space. And I had a mate sitting with me and sort of went, geez, that's a bit harsh. It's a hard kick. I'm like, but the good halfbacks make it look easy, and that's what you need to do.
It's your job.
It's your job.
You're
it literally
an NRL
is your
half.
job.
Yeah. I don't understand. And the whole Burton thing, Burton is going to be a great 6. Great 6. But when the Panthers last year, when Nathan Cleary was out injured and him and Luai were in the halves together, they weren't well beaters. There was even a period where Luai was struggling, he wasn't playing that well. He eventually came back into it. and I thought he played some really good footy towards the end of the year. But Burton is a fantastic 6. He needs a 7 that's going to be at least solid to give him a platform to do what he needs to do. Like, Burton's going to need a platform. And who knows? I do believe Burton is skilled enough. If you wanted to train one guy to become a 7 long term, I think Burton has that skill set. But it's going to take a year or two, at least probably 16 months to give Burton enough time to become a 7. But would you want to do that with a guy Dally M centre of the year is one of the best ball runners in the comp?
If he was at another club, we're not having this conversation.
Yeah, I just don't.
You know what shit me the most, and I could not believe it when I saw it, when he put Beyond Iodo on before he put Flano out there.
It's bizarre. There must be something going on there.
I mean, Phil Gould can tweet as much as he wants that Flano's in the race.
No.
I'm sorry, he's not.
It's absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. The only thing I can understand is, like, maybe they're trying to get Flanagan to leave because he's on a good wicket, because he wasn't even given a shot at it. Like, and there's a lot of people, and fair enough, like, I haven't watched him in New South Wales Cup. A lot of people said he went back to New South Wales Cup and he didn't really do much. But first of all, there hasn't been much New South Wales Cup games of footy. Second of all, like, we have seen him play solid footy in NRL for the Roosters. It's a different system, I get that. But he was good at the Sharks. He was solid at the Roosters. I just don't understand how he can't be, and what they need, at least the bare minimum, the Doggies.
I think a lot of fans have already made up their mind on Flanagan. It doesn't matter what he does. They've already made up their mind.
Yeah.
I think he's always going to be one of those guys, unfortunately, for Flano. But I just... And mate, if you said to me who's the better footballer, Averillo or Flano, it's Averillo every day of the week for me. I would never push back on that. But you don't need a footballer in that position. You need a halfback.
You know, like, I believe Averillo's naturally a better footballer / athlete, but who's got better runs on the ball? Who's played better footy in first grade? Flano, Averillo. Averillo's been forced... Like, when Averillo came in, I think they put him at 6 initially for a bit, where he was a centre. I don't understand. And again, it's a difference of opinion. So obviously, fully respect Trent Barrett in making that decision. And hopefully, they come out the other end and Averillo does turn into the 7 that Barrett believes he can be. Or hopefully, Burton comes in and does relieve a lot of pressure for him. That they are playing tonight, aren't they?
Yeah.
Who are they playing tonight? The Sharkies.
And that game's been moved to 6 o'clock.
To 6 o'clock. Okay, so it'll be really interesting to see their combination. Really, really interesting.
I will say this about Canterbury. Granted, I don't know about you, but I was so confused coming out of that game going, are Newcastle really good? Are Canterbury really ordinary? I thought that Canterbury, Jayden Okunbor probably had his worst defensive game I've seen him have in a while. If I'm the right winger for my team and I'm playing the Newcastle Knights, we got Clunes right to left and Ponga's strong side. You've got to hold your wing there. You've got to hold your wing. So I sort of thought that they made life a little bit easier for Newcastle. We also had the first game of NRL, whatever you want to call it, trials, of Paul Alamotti.
Yeah.
Good with the ball, struggled in defence, really struggled in defence, and just a little handy reminder to people how hard the NRL is.
Yeah.
How hard it is to come in and play against grown men. I mean, he would have played cup footy last year, but he didn't have the opportunity. And this is the little gap that you're going to start to see more and more.
Well, I mean, Alamotti, who is probably one of the best outside backs coming through in the country.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
He got the business put on him by Jake Clifford. Is Jake Clifford known for his footwork? No, he's not. But that's what I think a lot of people don't realise, is that a guy like Jake Clifford's footwork is still extremely high level. It's just not RTS.
Yep.
And so when the thing is, when I see that, I'm like, it's to be expected.
Exactly as we expected for him coming in.
This happens all the time. It's very rare. Like, some players come through, and like, just for me personally, I came through and I was always ready for those big moments. I was always ready for those big trials. So I would trial really well. But there are some players that are guns that, they have 1 or 2 poor trials and they just need an extra few, months or weeks or a year or whatever. What I loved about Alamotti is that I was not expecting him to kill it at all. And so when he made those 2 defensive errors, I was like, oh shit, we're going to see a Barry Crocker here. He's going to go into his shell. He's going to take 2 runs the whole game. And you know what? If he did that, I'd be like, he's a kid. Yeah. He's a kid. It's all good. I love the fact that he fought the entire game. And that's why I know for sure he will be a good player eventually. And
it could be the best thing to happen to him.
Could be the best thing because when you kill it so long as a guy coming through, you just become used to it. Now, is he going to be a gun first grader? I'm not sure, but I do believe that fight will at least get him to make his NRL debut.
And, you know, he got beat by Jake Clifford on that play. He got bumped by Tyson Brazil, which I'm not going to hold that.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold that
at all.
Fair play to him for having a crack.
Yeah, fair play. But, mate, the rest of the game, he marked Dane Gagai.
Yeah, for sure.
And he held his own against Gagai. So, and some of his runs were sensational. They were really good. He was good coming out of dummy half. So, yeah, I really want to stress as a reminder to everyone how hard first grade is.
Yeah.
Especially for people like me that haven't played it and you watch him play reserve grade and see how good he is and come through, and then for him to get there and be out of his depth early.
Mm. And it's not even, and it's one thing to play good in first grade and then do it for an entire season. Two totally different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy with the way he played. In the sense, what I took away from is we've got a fighter here. Not only is he talented, we all know that, but we've got a bloke that if he makes a couple errors, he's not going to put his head down and, you know, sulk and not have a crack. He's going to keep turning up, and that puts you in a good stead. If you've got the talent and you've got the attitude, you'll probably play first grade. So the Doggies, I'm still unsure on them. I think tonight is going to be a really good indication as to where they're at. Yeah, it's tough. I think that they did a really good job of rolling down the field. I think, is it King that plays there now? Max King. I thought he was pretty good.
He was great. I mean, he's been good. I was very surprised he didn't kick on at Melbourne. That sort of
went from the Titans to Melbourne.
Yeah, mate. At the Titans, he didn't play a heap of first grade there, but he's always had a huge engine. He's always had a massive engine. He just never really got an opportunity. I thought he'd be the sort of guy that would strive in Melbourne. I thought he'd fly. Didn't work out there, which I mean, you could say is a bit of a red flag, but he's hit the ground running at Canterbury. I think he'll be named next Tuesday. I really do.
I thought he was one of their best forwards, to be honest.
Compared to, you know, I thought that night he outplayed Paul Vaughan, who's, you know, was a kangaroo front rower 3 or 4 years ago. So, yeah, interesting to see. I thought that with the ball, they rolled okay. I thought in defence, though, I thought the Knights just pushed through them a lot, which worried me.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, I don't know. Like, even just the try they scored where I think it was off a tap and they...
someone dropped it and Duffy ran 70
metres. Oh, yeah, but sorry, the one that Newcastle scored where David Clemmer ran up, and it was such a simple play, but their defence just wasn't even alert to it. Like,
do you think if they struggle, does Barrett see out the season?
I don't know. Could go either way. I
think Gus
I don't know
ruthless.
where Gus sits on him. Yeah,
I think Gus is so ruthless. I just think that if Gus is willing to sack Anthony Griffin when they're coming fourth, if they get the spoon again, he's so ruthless.
Mate, what I saw the other night really worried me, to be honest with you. I mean, considering they were playing Newcastle, who I think is going to be a bottom 4 team, they scored, 3 tries? 2 were off mistakes where, thank God, Matt Duffy was the closest one to the ball. You know, like...
Yeah, I'm still optimistic. I look at that roster and I go, you know what? That roster can push towards a 11th, 12th. I'm not saying they'll finish there, but that roster is leaps and bounds better than the one last year.
Yeah. Oh, look, I don't think they're going to finish last by any means, but I mean, yeah, I probably have them about 11th and 12th, which is better than what they were last year, but it's still not where you want to be.
I'm going to save where I want to watch tonight, because tonight is
a fair shot. Yep.
Josh Addo-Carr's back, Burton's in.
Yep.
You're basically their full strength side.
Yeah. One other guy I just want to mention, Josh Cook, played hooker in the second half.
Yep.
I thought he was really good.
Yeah,
He's the one that's come from South Sydney. I thought he was very handy.
There were I think Jeremy Marshall-King played all right in periods.
He played well too. Yeah. And, mate, I mean, I couldn't believe the amount of shit that Marshall-King copped last week. I think he came out and said he wanted to be a top 5 hooker in rugby league, and people pizzled him. It's like... Fucking good on him for having some drive and some ambition to want to be better.
But you know the guts it takes to come out and say that?
Mate, 100%. You know people are going to give you shit left, right and centre, and you still
and people in the
come out and say, I want to be better. Why wouldn't Jeremy Marshall-King want to be a top 5 hooker in rugby league?
And people just there's nothing wrong with a bit of banter or whatever, but some people that go too far with you, you've clearly never strived for anything in your life. I love that. And you know what? His game has absolutely improved.
Definitely.
Over the last couple of years. So, fair play to him again. Damien Cook could barely get a bloody start for the first half of his career.
If Damien Cook would have said that 6 years ago, you would have pizzled him in the comments too. All of a sudden,
100%.
he's Kangaroos hooker.
Totally. Cody Walker didn't start NRL till 26 years old. So look, fair play to him, and I thought he was pretty good. I thought King was good. Dufty had some good moments.
It was good to see them with a player like Dufty that they can just throw the ball to and something can happen. I think that was one positive that I did take from it, and Burton will be another guy like that. I'm very keen to see the energy that Fox is going to bring, though.
Absolutely.
I think that's going to be a market mover, yeah.
I mean, he's like their kind of like spiritual leader, really. Like, he's so important to them. He's got so many runs on the board. You could argue he's the best winger of this generation. Yeah, I'm still optimistic. I don't think it's. I just think that the energy that whole squad connected together is going to bring is just such a different energy. Even if they don't play that well in the sense of they drop balls or whatever, I just think the energy that they can generate with a guy like Dufty at the back, with a guy like Carl on the wing, Paul Vaughan, Tavita Pangai Jr., King, Hetherington, Luke Thompson. You know what I mean? Those names. That can bring energy. So I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that they go all right tonight.
You said it a few months ago, but I'm not sure if you saw it, but Fox had an interview at the end of the game, and they said to O'Car, where do you need to improve? And he didn't give stock standard answers. He said, we need to improve this, and this.
Yeah.
I reckon Fox would have not had some hard conversations, but I think he would have called a few guys out this week on what they need to do, which is what you want from your state. For me, I've still got him as the best winger in the game with Brian Toto. So...
Like, people see the laughter and Adokar, he's such a big character. We forget this guy. He's a competitor. He was part of setting the standard at the Storm for the last 5 years. He's been part of their continued unrelenting success. You don't just be a key part of that and beloved by Bellamy unless, for example, he's such a big character. Bellamy doesn't allow that if you're not delivering on and off the field. So he'll bring that to the Bulldogs. So fingers crossed that they can
I love that Fox last year, the fastest bloke in our game, the off-season he went and put on 5 kilos so he'd be better coming out of his own end.
Yeah,
that said a heap to me about Fox. He could have quite easily sat out on that wing and scored 22 tries as the fastest guy in the comp, and no one would have said a word.
Absolutely. And he'd already played Origin, he'd already played for Australia.
Yeah.
Now, Tigers beat the Roosters 16-8. Taumau will miss 1 week. Early plea. Collins only fined. First time Roosters attacked Tigers. Okay, so these are notes. So concern for me was the first couple of times, the Roosters attacked the Tigers 9, they scored tries. That was really concerning for me at the start. I was like, it's one thing to have tries on you. It's another thing to have literally the first 2 attempts they score on you. But they turned it around. I thought Hastings was fantastic. I thought that the first try they scored, as I said on social media, the first try that they scored, Hastings just said, stuff it. And he took over the whole set. He touched the ball every single play, and they scored a try. There was also times in the game where they'd get a quick play the ball, and Hastings would be up on that quick play the ball, and the guys would be like 5-6 metres behind him. And that's just a good indication of, like, those players will eventually learn we cannot be behind. Like, Hastings is playing on front, like, he's identifying, quick play the balls, and getting on the front foot. And so that'll take time to get those combinations right. What were your thoughts?
He had time, Jacko.
Yeah, he did.
That's what stood out for me. He just had time with the football. And, outside of Benji over the last years, we haven't really seen a player at the Tigers that has time.
Yep.
It was a slow game. It was in the wet. I understand that. But as soon as Jacko took over, it was just a different footy side. I also thought, we've spoken about him a little bit here and here, Jock Madden, I thought he looked great when he came on the field.
Put it this way, I thought Brooks had a solid game, but if I'm selecting the team for round 1, my halves pairing would be Madden and Hastings, and I would have Brook at 14.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with. I've said all pre-season that I thought Hastings would lock down the 6 jersey and they'd move Dewey to 6. I will not be shocked in the slightest if Dewey returns at 6 and Hastings is a 7, and I think that'll be a really good combo for
I just
Tigers.
loved the energy that Madden and Hastings were bringing. Like, they were demanding the ball, putting play. Like, even like Madden comes on, gets Leilua? Yep. Whoever it was, organises, bro, get on that fucking goalpost. I'm going to kick it there. Like, I just think that for so long the Tigers they just weren't organising things like that. They were just expecting, like, oh yeah, block play, give me the ball, block. Like, Madden is coming on as a rookie, essentially, and demanding the ball, demanding plays be, different plays, things that aren't just out the back kind of stuff. I just think that the Tigers have to make a choice. They've got to. They've either got to. Brooks has either got to be so good that he's undeniable, or they need to try something else. And I just think that the Madden-Hastings combination is going to bring a bunch of energy. I actually think Brooks coming off at 14 will be really fucking good. And also, it gives Brooks an opportunity to, if Madden doesn't play well or Hastings doesn't, he gets the spot back.
Yeah, and I'd be very interested to see if they put Hastings in the driver's seat and then leave Luke Brooks at 6 just to see what happens.
I think Hastings is 7.
I think he has to be. And I don't know. Jack is, there's nothing you can say about Hastings that he hasn't heard.
Oh, yeah.
And he just doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yep.
He's heard it all. He doesn't care. He's here to play football. He's here to be successful. I'm starting to think that he would be a better, I don't know if you call it face of the Tigers, but their halfback, the guy to lead that. I was very impressed with him the other night. I didn't think Brooks played poorly, but I thought he was probably the third best half on the field.
Yeah, and I actually think that the way Brooks' game has developed, I think that the start of his career, there was this thought that he's a great ball runner, but there's also hints of being a really good 7, of a structure, and there were like loose links to Andrew Johns. Obviously, he's nowhere near like that, but the body shape, and just you could see similarities. So I think a lot of people assumed that he would grow into this 7. I actually think he's grown into a 6. I don't think he's, for the Tigers outfit, maybe for another team, but I actually think he's a 6 in today's game. And so at the very least, I would have Hastings at 7, Brooks at 6, and Madden absolutely would get that 14 role. But I just think it's a new year. What do you got to lose by starting Hastings and Madden?
I sort of feel with Brooksy that, and I think he will leave the Tigers eventually. I think it'll be good for both of them. We've said this a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes his career back in the 7 and he does well. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Mitch Pearce.
Okay.
In that there was the middle part of Mitch Pearce's career where I thought he's just got to be a 6. He needs someone else next to him. And I think that Brooks is at that point as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Brooks hit age 31, 32, and if he ends up back in the 7 and he is successful somewhere.
Is he vocal enough to be that, though? Like, Pearcey's always been very vocal and,
Yeah, I can't talk. I haven't been alongside Brooksy and heard him talk on the field and whatnot, but I think he has got more to offer than being a 6, but I think right now 6 is the best spot for him, especially in this side now that you have got Jacko there.
Yeah, I mean, Hastings can be so dominant. Like, he did take a step back initially at the start of the game, but it wasn't until he said, nah, stuff this, like, I'm taking over.
Yeah.
I felt they really kicked on.
Yeah. Hastings also, he came into this game with a foot injury. He hasn't run much the last few weeks. And I think that once he was feeling a bit more confident on it, then he really started to click into gear. So
it's going to be interesting. The good thing for the Tigers, the really good thing now, is they've got options in that position. How many years have they had no options in that halves role? Like, Dewey started as a winger, then he moved back to fullback, and then he got shoehorned into the 6. Madden is playing so well, don't get me wrong, and now if I had to select my side, it would be 7 Hastings, 6 Dewey. But Madden might play so well that you can afford to have Dewey in the centres, and you get him to roam, like a Tom Trbojevic, and you just get him roaming and ball running. So it's a real positive sign for the Tigers that they have quite a few options in that half position.
The other one that impressed me, and I'll be cards on the table. What?
Gildart?
Yeah. I will say this, it was obviously the perfect conditions for Gildart. It's what he's been used to, but I thought he was pretty average in his first game. More impressive in this one. So he's an interesting watch to see what happens.
I thought I was really impressed. I'm always of the mind, like, Super League outside backs, like, doesn't usually work. But he was, again, like, yes, under strength, Rooster side, all that kind of stuff, but he's probably their best outside back, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see how he goes defensively when it's a dry track and he's going up against the top quality centres in the NRL. But
is it what size for you? Or because he's quite quick.
Yeah, he's quite quick, but I don't know. I just feel like that game was played at a bit of a slower pace than what we'll see general games because of the weather this year. So I can only base Gildart off what I've seen of him so far, and that was good the other night. But I take the conditions into consideration. So I'm interested to see more of him. The guy that has impressed me the last 2 weeks, and I was very nervous about how he'd go this year because he's already signed, he's going elsewhere, was Leilua.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about the preseason where you've got Joey coming out and openly bagging Madge, you've then got him signing elsewhere and knowing he's going to leave at the end of the year, I was a bit concerned how he was going to hit the ground, but He is flying.
Mate, he's a problem.
He's
a
a serious problem.
I agree. I thought exactly the same thing. If there is any player that you would assume is just going to be like, I'm leaving next year and, we've got all these issues with my brother, blah, blah, I'm going to phone it in. He has absolutely not phoned it in.
And if he did throw it in, I could kind of get it to some extent.
Yeah, like the issue with the brother.
It's been a circus.
It has been a circus, absolutely. And clearly, he says Madge has been his best coach or whatever, but at the end of the day, when a rubber met the road, the Tigers didn't offer him the deal that he wanted. There's a reason that he's leaving. So, massive fair play to Leilua. He was destructive on the edge. Some of the runs he takes, it's like Taumalolo prime. It's absurd, absolutely absurd. So, I totally agree with you. Leilua was really good. Look, I think this is taking out of it what you can. The Tigers disregard the score. It's just the direction. I haven't seen a Tigers team get to that point. Even the way Hastings, that short ball on the 5th tackle play, when have we seen something that crisp from a Tigers outfit? How many years?
Yeah. When was the last time you saw a Tigers ball player touch the ball every play of the set and them score on the end of it?
And be doing these ones
mate, he's got a lot of confidence, Hastings. I know he's come from the Super League and whatnot and done well over there, but he's coming full of confidence and he's not afraid to take a risk either, which I think is what Tigers know.
I like it, and it's just like, the thing is that, you watch a guy like Brooks and he can play some really good footy, but the one thing is you never see that direction of you never see him animated, and they're totally different personalities. That's why I actually think that if you do start him and Hastings at 7 and him at 6 will work perfectly, because it'll just let Brooks just ease off. He doesn't have to think about all that shit, and he can do what he does really good, which is ball running. I thought his ball running was really good on the weekend. Great signs for the Tigers. Again, it's not the score, it's just the fact that, remember last year how I was like, what the Tigers need to do is, who cares about the score, but just give us evidence of who they are as a team.
Some identity.
Yeah, who are they as a team? What kind of footy do they play? Are they up-tempo? Are they a grindy side? Are they a flashy side? I'm really... I thought their hooker that came on, that looks a little bit like the Cheese. I thought he was good.
Yeah, he was handy. Yeah.
I thought he played some good footy. Who else? I thought the Redheads, Sayworth?
Seafarth, is it?
Alex Seafarth? I thought he was decent. I thought he played some good footy. He always rips and tears. A couple of things, though, that I'm really, really surprised at with the Tigers. Alex Twal. Was he not even named? He's got to be injured, surely.
I think he was on the bench, wasn't he?
He was in their leadership groups last year. Oh. He has some of the best defence in the NRL. What I'm not getting is if there was one player that represented what Madge projects to everyone, it's Alex Twal.
It's Alex Twal down to a T. Alex Twal should be the mascot on the weekend.
Literally.
For what Madge reportedly does and believes in. And he's been taken out of the leadership group. Now he's on the starting team. It just...
Are you telling me Alex Twal isn't a part of their 7? You're telling me that Alex Twal isn't in their best 17 players?
Imagine you being Twal and you lose not only your captaincy, but then your 13 jersey to Tyran Peachy, who's just arrived at the club. Is there a bigger kick in the dick?
Oh, mate. And you didn't.
And that's with all due respect to Peach.
And you didn't even get put in the front row either.
You didn't, yeah.
And you've been busting your body. On the podcast, he played with broken ribs, and his tackle efficiency is he missed I think 4 or 5 tackles the entire season last year. If there was one player that you knew rocked up and had a dig, it was him.
Yeah.
So maybe he's injured, because I cannot for the life of me believe how he's not in there. I think he's the kind of player that at another club would be beloved, because he turns up every week and never gives in. And who's their front? It's Tamir? Stefano. Are you telling me that you can't have Alex Twal rotating with them? Who's the guys that come off the bench in their front row?
Him. Who else is there? I mean...
Offengawi. Musgrove. I can't find anything about Twal. Anything.
Man,
not on NRL.com, not on Twitter, no nothing.
If Twal played his career at Melbourne, how many Origin games does he play?
Yeah, he probably played Origin, sure.
Probably.
Yeah, at Melbourne.
I would confidently bet on it.
What do you got there, Matt?
I was just saying, it wasn't even a 17 last week. It was a 23.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
He was there. They didn't...
And the thing that's surprising to me is when you're trying to build clubs and culture, you to get rid of a guy or drop a guy like that, the message that sends is like we don't really care about loyalty. Like, and maybe there's more to it. Alex Twal for me represented the better parts of the Tigers over the past few years.
It's even deeper than loyalty. It's just the attitude to put your head where I wouldn't put my foot every single week, which is what Twal does.
Yeah, every week through all the tough times, 30 tackles, no misses, 40 tackles, no misses. You know, playing out of position in the 13 when he's really a front rower. So that's surprising to me. That's really surprising. But it is what it is, I guess. Tigers, even though you get a positive, there's always this for example, Peachy unfortunately had a really, really poor game. So I don't know.
He looks lost to me.
Well, he came on at hooker, because he started at 13, I'm pretty sure, and then he came back on at hooker. And we're going down the Peachy rabbit hole again of just not giving him a position to play.
Who was, can you see, what Peach was like number 23 or something, wasn't it? He didn't even start in the 13 from memory.
What, he got moved out of the 13? Oh, yeah, that's right. Started the week before.
What the fuck is going on? You got 1 week to get ready for the NRL season.
And he's
you got a new
signing.
6, you got a 7 with a question mark, you got your captain playing 13, he wears fucking 23.
Yeah, that's surprising.
I don't.
And he's your biggest signing, and he's
been
a captain.
here for 6 weeks. How can he not need more time on the field with them?
And he just got put at captain.
Fuck. Painful.
It's maybe there's a tactic to it. Maybe Madge knows that he's going to be a 13. He was trying to give more minutes to someone else.
But if you know he's going to be your 13, he's part of your spine.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's very, very surprising. And then he came on at hooker, and it was like, he's not a hooker.
13's not even a position that Peachy has he's played it, but he
of.
hasn't. It's not like he's a 100-game vet in the 13.
Yeah,
I would argue he's got more games at centre than what he does at lock.
Yeah, it's
and he's walking into a new structure.
the thing that's he literally got made captain.
Yeah, here's jersey 23.
But you're 23, and plus you're not playing 30, you're playing hooker. Yeah, very surprising. But that's the only two things that I was very surprised at and didn't make sense to me. Outside of that, overall, great night for Tigers fans.
Yeah, I mean the Hastings get is massive for them.
So big,
I think it will move the needle for them.
Emergence of Madden.
Yep.
He just impressed me so much when he came on. His confidence, he just took over as well. But it worked with Hastings. They kind of gelled really well together. So great signs. Roosters, look, I don't think there's anything to worry about at all. They're just one point that I'll bring it up in the Broncos conversation. But Roosters again, their defence with missing all their key players. They're just such a strong club. Daniel Tupou came out, I think he ran for 170 metres, the most of nearly any outside back or any player on that field and any player of that day, I'm pretty sure. Daniel Tupou, in his 10th or 11th season, coming out in a trial that means nothing. He's the kind of guy that could say to the coach, I don't want to play any trials.
Yeah.
And the coach would be like, yeah, 100%, we know you're going to do the job. Comes out and does that. I thought he was fantastic. Who impressed you for the Roosters?
Yeah, it was a hard game because they were obviously missing a number of their guys. Sam Walker came up with a couple of good things. I don't know. I look at Walker and I listen to everyone during the preseason and say, he's put on 6 kilos. Does he look that much bigger to you?
So I sent you a message. I was going to get to it a bit later. First trial, he's down again with his neck or his shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to be worried. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't because it wasn't a hard tackle. It was a crazy tackle. It was some big, massive. Who was it? Was it Leilua or something?
I think so. Yeah.
So it's not big. It's almost that he's putting his body on the line too much, and I just a bit concerned. First game, and we're already dealing with. And maybe he's just the most unlucky kid ever, and he's going to pull through this. And players have pulled through way more. I'm not sitting here saying that.
Yeah.
He's done or whatever, but I'm just saying after the last season where he did get banged up a bit and the whole narrative was he's put on weight, he's all good, and weight wouldn't have changed this outcome. It just, when you see that in the first trial, please, just praying, please don't become a bit of a trend where...
Yeah, we've got 26, you've got 30 weeks to go.
30 weeks to go.
Realistically.
And again, it's probably just purely luck. It wasn't because it wasn't a soft tackle, it was a great tackle by him actually, the fact that he even stopped him on the line.
Yeah.
But the first thing I thought was please don't become a trend where he's constantly dealing with, shoulder issues and that. Would you consider, what were your thoughts What are your thoughts?
On Sam Walker or
Sam Walker?
Yeah, I still think I just think he's too tough for his own good.
Yeah.
I really do. I love him as a footballer. You've got written here goal kicking as well, which is an interesting one to touch on with Walker. I don't know. I want to see more of him. I just think it's a worry that we're both concerned about him as in the line and injuries and whatnot, when you've also got his halves partner Luke Keary, who's a premier player. But I mean, these head knocks still worry me with him. Roosters have got the depth to be able to cover it and deal with it all. But it is going to be interesting for the Roosters how this one all plays out.
Yeah, look, I think they'll be fine. It just was a bit of a red flag for me.
Yeah.
I was like, and not from a perspective of a negative mindset, more of like, I just rate Sam Walker so highly. I just really hope that this doesn't become something. If it continues to happen, I strongly consider working a system around having him not defend front line. So, for example, you may put him out of the wing for the first 4 tackles, and then fifth comes and maybe you put him out in the centres. Again, this is all just spitballing and just future-proofing, because he's clearly could be a superstar, like a superstar of the game.
I think it's harder to hide now than it ever has been, though.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm not saying... and also, there is the mind of, like, regardless of hiding, it's like if you're an NRL halfback, there's 2 parts of the game. There's defence and attack.
Yeah.
And he is just so courageous. He just puts his body in front every single time. You almost kind of, as a Roosters fan, like, bro, please let the try in.
Yeah.
Let the try in, bro. Well, you can score 3 tries yourself, literally. Yeah. Like, you can put on 4 tries to this. So, just a tiny little... Ooh, but it's not me sitting here saying, the sky is falling, Sam Walker, blah, blah. Not at all. His ball running is as good as we've ever seen it. Yep. His break to set up that try, the footwork was incredible.
In the wet too.
Very
impressive.
I just cannot wait to see him with Keary.
One guy I do want to give a little shout out to, his career is at a massive crossroads, Sammy Verrills.
Yeah.
I thought he played well. I thought he played well for the Chooks. I can't see a world where he's in red, white and blue next year.
Mate, if I'm a club, I'm chasing him hard.
Yep.
Hard. He's a high quality 9.
Yeah,
high quality 9.
He's been derailed by injuries and a couple of unfortunate things, but mate, wasn't that long ago they were playing in a grand final and he was filling in for Jake Friend and doing a really good job.
Absolutely.
Scored the first try against Canberra in the grand final. He can play.
And I don't believe that he's even close to his potential yet. I don't even think he's been given really a long enough time.
Hasn't even played a season, really.
Yeah. So, Sam Verrill's really good. Sam Walker in attack, as usual, silky as they come, so silky. His attack is just on another level as a half. Like, if you're looking at sevens, he'd be up there with some of the best attack that we've seen in a very long time. When you compare him to other sevens that have come before, at this age,
that's the thing.
It is just absolutely wild, his attack. His pass selection is usually pretty good. I think he's going to improve in that. He's ball running. So,
and it's one thing to have the pass selection, but then to have the confidence to do it in the moments that he does it. In
the wet weather as well, throwing cutout balls and that. Yeah. But outside of that, I just thought it was a good, solid Roosters performance. Missing key players. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I don't think Robbo looks too deeply into trials. I don't think he would have even glanced.
Radley looks good.
Yeah, Rads look good. Yeah.
And he's digging into the line is just so hard to stop. He goes so deep that it just strips the whole team of numbers.
Another thing there isn't a stat for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I think, great signs for Tigers. Roosters, sweet. I think that there's absolutely nothing worried about. They showed their grit in their defence. Now, on to probably the biggest story of the weekend. Yes, disclaimer again, just a trial. Eels beat Panthers 36-0. Now, this blew my mind. The Eels looked so good, I can't believe it. Now, don't get me wrong, I knew a Nathan Cleary-less and an Isaiah Yeo and Fisher Harris-less Panthers were never going to be as good as they would be with them. But I did not expect the Eels to be this good so early.
Yeah.
It's almost too good. Like, I'm scared.
Mate, that's my worry.
Yeah, I'm scared.
I heard did you hear Brad Arthur's interview before?
Wasn't he saying, like, we're fucking
it was
going?
like it was the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was like, this is our moment, we're going to deliver. For me, once again, you'd know more than me. I would imagine that a coach has probably 2 or 3 speeches a year that are going to really hit. You can't do it every week. You have to pick your moments when you do it. Has he used one of his cards here in a fucking preseason trial against half a Panthers side?
Yeah. But the confidence it gives them, though. If it doesn't get to their head, they go into round 1 bouncing off the fucking wall.
But it's also 36-0 against the defending premiers in the trial. It could go either way in round 1. So
I just don't want to live in a world where a 36-0 thrashing is not a fucking good thing.
Yeah, no, it is a good thing.
Yeah.
I just think
I feel like we're being too cynical. I get your concern.
Yeah.
I get your concern of like 36-0 in a trial, and that Eels side looked the best we've seen in a very long time, outside of a grindy win over Melbourne Storm in the last year.
But I think why I'm looking at it this way is because if Melbourne win 36-0, I go, okay. If Penrith win 36-0, I go, okay. But Parramatta winning 36-0 this early, playing there, have you seen them play a better game of football?
It was
in all fucking seriousnness,
crazy.
have you seen them play
everything we dreamed of them clicking, clicked.
Yeah. And I worry that over the last few years, take out last year, I look at them and they're great, they're fantastic, they get to finals and they're not able to taper for the right part of the year. Last year, they looked really good. They still were only a try away from winning that game there, but I don't know, the intensity they came in with, I'm just not sure how many more times Brad Arthur can emulate that.
See,
That's my worry. But
I just thought, and I totally get that if I have to have one concern, the concern is, was it too good?
Yeah.
But I just thought we saw a different level of Junior Paulo, a different level of Regan Campbell-Gillard.
Junior Paulo looked unbelievable.
Junior Paulo, we have to remember that last preseason he did boxing.
Yeah.
So that's gonna throw the preseason out a bit. This preseason, fully clean season, he looked like a beast. He looked like he'd taken that captaincy role and it meant everything to him. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, premiers now, but what's the alternative if you're an Eels fan? Would you have rather win 16-8? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
What's the alternative?
I know exactly what you're saying, and I get it. I just remember sitting on the lounge and listening to Brad Arthur talk before the game and going, "Fuck, is it February?
Yeah.
Like, is it September? That's my only concern with it." I had a lot of people, message me say that it's Parramatta's year now. I'm not convinced it is. It's a huge improvement.
That's
I thought the
absurd.
spine was incredible. I thought that Moses, he kicked his first ball dead, well and truly dead, and I thought...
Wasn't really his fault, though, or should have caught that.
Yeah, okay, fair, but what the point I was getting to was that he still kicked that ball dead, and normally you would see that sort of rattle Moses a little bit.
Yeah.
He then came back with probably his best kicking game I've ever seen him have.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. The hooker was sensational. Gutho was great. He did his job. We talk about our man.
Oh, no, you're not allowed to say his name.
Not allowed to say his name.
He's too cool. He's become too cool. You can't even whisper it. He's like Voldemort of cool people.
Voldemort. Mate, fuck a duck. I messaged you before that game started, and I said, how good would it be if Dylan Brown had 3 try assists today on the stats board?
Yeah.
And I purposely said stats board because he always does this. He always produces, but NRL stats doesn't credit him with try assists, so people think he's shit. And if you still think we're dribbling about that, go and watch the first half of this game.
Yeah.
It was incredible. If Sean Lane didn't drop that ball, which...
I think it was like 2 balls that
pretty
much
much,
scored, yeah.
Respectfully to Sean Lane, yeah. Then there's the one with Gutho where Dylan Brown completely manipulates the line, creates disarray everywhere. Gutho has a 2-on-1, draws and passes. Gutho gets a try assist and a line break assist. It's all off the back of Dylan Brown.
Yeah.
It's all off the back of what Dylan Brown does. He then made a line break a little bit later. He made a tackle on the right edge back row for Penrith that the vast majority of halves miss as well. Just one-on-one clean chop. I think it was Scotty Sorensen. He was everywhere, Dylan Brown. The amount of people that are complimenting him, he's been doing this stuff for 2 years.
Yeah. Like maybe not at this level, but he has been playing some solid footy for 2 years.
Mate, I just think people get wrapped up in stats and too much. But anyway.
Yeah, look, I think Dylan Brown, it was probably the best game he's played, really. I mean, he had a game similar
Apart from
to
his
against,
first year,
yeah.
I think since his first year, it's probably the best game he's played. Yeah.
He had a game against the Titans that was really good. That he scored 2 tries that was similar to this. But yeah, I mean, as I said in the Instagram post, is that if the one thing that Panthers were missing was that final knockout blow. We know they've got a great forward pack that can match you with anyone. We've seen them grind out a win against the Storm 2 times in a year, in a record year for the Storm. We saw that last game against the Panthers last year. Could this be finally what they've needed? Is just that extra player that has that bit of pizzazz, that line breaking, that try assist, the line break assist. Because if a firing Brown is with a guy like Moses and Clint Gutherson, that's almost too much for a defence to handle. You can't handle 3 guys that can tear you apart. I thought Dylan Brown was absolutely fantastic. Put it this way, Sean Lane drops that ball. If he doesn't drop that ball, that was an incredible play by Brown. It was literally a step, line break, flick pass out the back. That's on the highlight reel all week. In the rain.
Yeah.
So, yeah, massive game from Brown.
And then at the end of the game, they moved him to centre, and he scored that try where, yes, he's playing centre, but it's the awareness. You could see that as soon as that play unfolded, Dylan Brown was the first guy on the field to realise this is going to be on here, and I just need to put myself there. And that's the sort of awareness he has.
I think he'd be a great centre. I really do.
Yeah, well, you've been saying it for a while, and when I saw the move, I thought, fuck this, he'll be happy over there.
Yep.
But it's that awareness that he has that, once again, you can't measure in stats. That's why whenever there's a break, who's the closest Parramatta player to the guy scoring a try?
Yep.
It's Dylan Brown. That's if he's not making the tackle to save it, because he's got match awareness. He can see what's happening before it happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, I understand people's misgivings of is this a bit too early and they're going to peak too early? But I feel like we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe not. What we do have is the information right now.
Yeah.
And the Eels played fucking fantastic.
Coming out of this weekend, the best spine was Parramatta.
Yeah,
by
for sure.
a country mile, there is no doubt.
And best forward pack.
Yeah.
Junior Paulo, Campbell Gillard, even the blokes that came off the bench were fantastic.
Yeah.
That older, he ended up debuting a bit later.
Makatoa,
yeah, Makatoa or something like that. He was really good. Reed Marnie was quality. So
that was the other thing too. Makatoa scored his try. If the Penrith Panthers didn't get a hand to that, just see who the ball was going to under the sticks. Still Brown.
I thought we saw a bit of Penasini's greatness with his or his quality. With that kick, that was quality. And even Reed Marnie's awareness to just boom straight away drop off. Kind of the forgotten man because he signed with the Tigers, but Papali is a scary motherfucker. I thought Madison was quite good at 13. His defence was really good.
What do you do with Nathan Brown? Do you?
Mate, I don't. I mean, look,
he's for thought.
He's earned that spot. He's earned that spot for sure. The crazy thing is, Lane a week ago, you'd be like, mate, he's earned his spot. And then I think on the weekend he did, struggle with a few drop balls. So it's going to be interesting to what they do with their back row. Do they go Lane, Papali'i, and Madison on the bench, or do they go with Brown at 13, or do they put Madison? I think the only guy that's under pressure from Madison is probably Lane. I think Brown has played there for so long that he'll probably keep his spot, 13. But if I had to guess right now, I'd assume that the back row will be Lane, Brown, Papali'i, with Madison coming off the bench. Even though Madison played really well, it just seems that Lane played really well the week before, and I guess you're trying to build a combination with Dylan Brown.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll say this about Parramatta, and I can't remember if you said it to me or someone else said it to me. They did look like on the weekend, finally, that they're a team that's played together for 4 and 5 years now. They're starting to, especially coming up against Panthers, who, yes, they're missing guys, but defense is an attitude, and it has been at Penrith for so long now.
And we watched last year when they were missing players, whoever put the jersey on,
just produce.
They produce.
So, I mean, and the one that stood out for me was the play where Penasini kicked infield. As you said, that little touch by Reed Marnie. Things like that in the conditions they're in is a sign of a team that is, and even the way that Junior Paulo was unbelievable, but even some of the short balls and stuff he was throwing, they're just all in sync.
Yeah,
they were all in sync.
Paulo looked fucking scary.
Yeah,
we're talking about Nas. Paulo looked.
Well, they were my
so
two standout
good.
forwards from the weekend.
Mate,
I think they were.
Paulo looked so good. So look, again, there's a lot of people that are going to be saying too early, this, that, and the next thing, but you don't know. You don't know. Maybe you're right, but what we do know now, for sure, the information that we have, Eels played fantastic, and Para Eels fans should be stoked.
Yep.
Now, that could all change in 2 weeks' time. So, but Put it this way. What would you rather going into trial? Get busted every week or win 36-0 each week?
Yeah, probably 36-0.
Probably the 36-0. Look at the Broncos.
Honestly, if I'm Parramatta, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'm probably being a little bit negative.
Who do you reckon, I think that you'd much rather win trials than lose them, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I think it was probably a good experience for some of these young Panthers that have been playing first grade and reserve grade there for 2 years and have lost a handful of games of football. To really get slapped around and feel what it feels like again to just be stuck in that quicksand where you just can't pull yourself out of it. Tago, I thought he was good for Penrith. He struggled a few
reads early. But I just love his energy.
Mate, he's just a goer.
He's so aggressive. Yep. When he tackled Gutho as he caught the ball, loved that shit. I thought Crichton was a little bit quiet, a bit concerning with Crichton. Not concerning because he's such a gun. That wet weather footy probably doesn't really suit a guy like Crichton.
Yeah.
Because he's got so much finesse about him. But I don't think there's a thing to worry about with the Panthers.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be concerned in
they were missing Cleary, Edwards, Fisher-Harris, Lenu, Sorensen, Martin, and Yeo. That is a fair whack of players. I don't think there's anything to worry about. And for the first, half, or at least the first 20 minutes, they were in it with a quite inexperienced team in the middle there. So Panthers fan, do not worry at all. Eels fans, just hope that this doesn't get to their head and they roll out round one and they're like, we're going to pump someone. I don't think it will. I think that they're all smart enough to know it's a trial and they're missing some key players. 13 offloads for the Eels was really interesting. They seem to be a team that is going to lean heavily into that. They were really good at it last year. Paulo was really good at it. Papali. I mean, they're a great team of offloaders, and it is something that the Storm have always struggled with. If you're a team that can offload against the Storm, it throws out all their systems, and that's why Parra was able to beat them the last two times they played them. Hopefully Maverick Guy dislocated an elbow, but it went back in, so hopefully there's not ligament damage there, and he's back because he's impressive, man. He is impressive. Really like him. Panthers had just 3 tackles in the Eels 20 metre zone in the first half.
Wow.
Shows you how strong the Eels defence was and how good Moses' kicking game was.
Yep.
Anyway, so good signs for Eels. Don't worry, Panthers fans. Don't worry at all. No worries. Dragons v South. Dragons defeat South 16-10. How do we think Lachlan Ilias went?
I thought he went well.
Yeah, agreed.
For his first game, playing alongside Cody. I know he played one game last year, but the first time where this team is his, I thought he did really well. I thought it was interesting the way that South attacked, and I don't know if there's much to read into it or not because Cam Murray and Latrell Mitchell weren't there, but I just found it interesting. For the first half, Ilias didn't cross the halfway.
Yep.
He just stayed on his right edge, and it meant that Cody Walker was sort of in at first receiver. Towards the back end of his stint, Ilias, he sort of came over to the left, which I like to see more. I thought he was really good. I thought that his combination, there was one time where it went to shit, but I thought his combination with Colomantungi was good. I think that'll be a good little combo this season. I think it's handy for Ilias to have Campbell Graham out there as much as I'd rather Campbell Graham on the left. I think it's good for him. I thought Ilias did a good job, mate. I think that he improved as the game went on. And I think he will continue to prove as the season goes on. Cody Walker, though.
Fuck, he looks good. He's taking it personally. It's like that Michael Jordan meme.
That's exactly what it was.
It's like everyone keeps talking about Reynolds. Are we forgetting that I'm still here?
Oh, mate, how good was it?
He's good. So good.
When he popped down, when I think it was Colomantungi got tackled on the right tram line, he popped out down the short side.
Yep.
I've never seen him there before.
Yeah.
It was
crazy.
It was, yeah.
He's got to have one of the best footy brains I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of another player currently playing that can read the game as it's happening as well as Cody Walker.
I love there was a play where he dropped Dry Arrow down and then he wrapped around the back of him and you could just see him barking orders.
Yep.
And he just had them done.
Yep.
Absolutely done. And that's what we haven't seen much of with Cody Walker, dropping his back rower, coming back down the short side. Real halves play throughout a whole set, which I'm super excited to see. It'll be interesting to see once Cam Murray comes back. Will he play that? Will he play the first receiver role as they go down that short side? Honestly, when I was watching that game, it made me think, like, this left edge is so good and Cody Walker is such a key part of it. But fuck, we've probably missed out on some unbelievably entertaining footy from Cody Walker.
Oh, yeah, for
if
sure.
he didn't, and staying down that corridor worked for him 100%. But I reckon this year we're going to see some crazy things from Walker, just popping up.
He looked good. I can't remember a season at the start that he's looked this good.
No.
He was creating it for himself.
And that's he's got to be a bit selfish.
For sure, because they need him.
He's got to do it this year.
He has to do it. So, my opinion on Ilias, for the pressure the kid was under, I thought he handled it fantastically.
Yeah.
Like, very easy for a kid like that to get in over his head and be, running around with his head cut off. Good, solid. Wasn't great, but also wasn't bad. I thought he was good. His 2040 is a really good example of. I just thought it was like so poetic of like, you lose Reynolds, who's the best kicker in the game. Maybe Nathan Cleary has taken him over, but Reynolds for the past whatever years has been the best kicker. And then Ilias' first big play is a 2040, a bit poetic. So I think what's good about that is it shows the kid can kick, and that's the one thing that Reynolds, not the one thing, but probably his biggest arsenal is his kicking game. I
thought as well in his last 10 minutes before he went off, he started to run the ball and he started to take them on. I thought he looked a lot more dangerous. So this kid, his confidence is only going to build. It's going to be a big first month for him.
Massive.
It's going to be huge.
Speaking of sixes, our boy Amone.
Yeah.
He is fucking something special. That
is.
right foot step, but then later in the game went bang, bang, left foot step. Fuck. Oh, man. I mean, Cody Walker had an incredible game.
Yeah.
But we've come to expect that. That's Cody fucking Walker. Amone is a rookie still. Rookie.
Sometimes you see kids his age come in and they've got a good right foot step and they overuse it and they use it in the wrong moments. He seems to nail it in the right moment every single time. He does it enough to worry you, but he doesn't overdo it so you don't know when it's coming. If you know what I mean, like his selection of when to use it is very special. I was very impressed with him. I thought Ben Hunt.
Yeah.
Fuck, if you still want to bag Ben Hunt, miss me. Absolutely miss me. He is such a good footballer.
I'm so surprised at these players that are like 30, 31 years old. Maybe I just am remembering incorrectly, but I feel like back in the day, as soon as players started hitting 30, 31, they're basically...
it was played up here.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
they're a shadow of themselves. That's the way... but I feel like Cody Walker is dynamic. Ben Hunt is playing some of the best footy. Outside of 2015, some of the best footy he's played.
Yeah. There was a moment there where Ben Hunt got the ball down the left side, he threw it to Sully, and then he wrapped around him.
Yeah.
When Ben Hunt's doing that sort of shit, he's on.
He's on.
I love that he's just taking control of this side. He loves being in control.
Yeah.
I mean, he kicks it from his own 10-metre line to find his wing. That was like Quade Cooper is his most adventurous sort of best. Mate, a lot of... fuck. What about the two centres? Sully... Lomax. What Lomax did, poor AJ.
Mate.
Shouldn't be allowed to do that to people.
Zach Lomax, what do we say what they need for Christmas?
Yeah.
Zach Lomax, he's been flying under the radar for the last couple of years. I'm telling you, this kid can be anything. Like, he can be the next Gaznia. That's how good this guy is. Now, he has a long way to go there, but did that not give you shades of Gaznia? Tell me that didn't.
When I watched it, I saw AJ and I didn't realise who it was at the start, and I thought, oh, that poor kid.
Yeah.
And then I saw the replay and I was like, oh my God, that was like AJ is a top shelf winger. It's nothing against AJ. It's just how good that move was.
It was a no-look flick pass after he stepped three blokes.
It was Gaz all over.
There's a Gaznia special. Shimmy, shimmy, fucking, and there's the business, baby. See you later, try time. Down at the Harp Hotel, I'm fucking getting 10 cartons of beer down my gullet. Take some fucking rugby league down your gullet. Red V. Marching on. Oh, when the Saints go marching on. March on down to the fucking Harp. Glassy. Hey? March on down to 151. Bit of Blue Note. I tell you what.
I don't even feel bad. I can't get on your level. I
had an aneurysm. That wasn't even me. That was just fucking... That was the ghost of the glass house speaking through me. And what's crazy, what's absolutely fucking insane is we're not even talking about Sully yet.
Yeah, mate.
You know? He's a beast. He's a problem.
Yeah, he is a serious issue for sides. And I said it on Instagram the other day, when he realises how good he can be, fuck, good luck.
Are people starting to believe in the Dragons? Now, don't get me wrong, I still think that, there is a chance that they could struggle. But I was pretty impressed, and I've never been of the mind. The fact that they are favourites for Spoon is the biggest fucking G-up in my mind.
Well, they're not anymore, thankfully, but they were for a long time. And
that made no sense to
me. Yeah.
You're telling me a team that has Ben Hunt in it is more favourite for the Spoon than some of the other teams we have out here that have struggling, are you kidding me?
A halfback makes a halfback and a 13 and a 9. Like, they're okay.
And look, Jack DeBellin, with everything unfortunate that's happened in his life, he's never going to get the same attention, but he is a high
quality.
He was playing Origin before everything happened.
Yeah.
So when it comes to their spine and the quality of it, like Sloan is continuing to prove he is classy. They've got a Monet. Like, is a Monet or a Moan? Please let us know.
I'm pretty sure it's a Monet, but
let us know because is he Samoan? I'm unsure. Can you check what his heritage is? If you are of the same heritage of a Monet, please let us know if we're saying it incorrectly because we want to try to get as many right as we can.
I've heard a few different pronunciations.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let us know.
Tongan.
He's Tongan?
Yeah.
Okay. Apologies for saying he's Samoan. Yeah, let us know. Any Tongan people that listen to this podcast, if we're saying it incorrectly, please let us know. I think the Dragons recruited well. I think, Woods and that. Woods just offered stability in the middle there. One thing it blows my mind. So Josh Maguire plays the game before, which is, okay, fair enough. It's surprising, but fair enough. Then he gets put on the bench and he comes on at hooker. Can someone, what?
You can pick a 30-man squad. Pick a young halfback or a young hooker.
Give him a chance. Give experience to a young 9 that needs experience. I don't understand. It makes no sense to me. You've got a squad of 30. You've got Andrew McCulloch, absolutely 80-minute hooker, guaranteed. Lock it in. Are you telling me there isn't another 9 in that squad that could benefit from getting 20 minutes in a trial match with the NRL squad? I don't get it.
It's unbelievable. He was the second choice halfback last week.
It just makes...
He's a suspended front rower. I had people message me go, he's just giving him time. It's like, give him time in the front row.
Yeah, it makes
no sense whatsoever.
It's bizarre. I'm sure there's an internal reason. This is one of those things that there's so much going internally that we don't know about that I'm sure there's an internal reason. Maybe the 9 that he does that is coming through he feels isn't ready. Maybe that's the case. Or he's got, some young heart. Because we have to remember, Bud Sullivan probably would have had that role.
Yeah, and By as well would have had that role, but I just find it hard to believe.
And By injured?
Yeah, he's injured, so he wasn't playing either. But I just find it hard to believe there isn't anyone else that could jump in.
Maybe there isn't. Because you got Mbai, you got Sullivan.
They let go of Tyran Wishart last year. He probably would have been the next guy.
Wishart looked really good for this. Is that for the Storm?
Right, yeah.
He looked really good.
He's a footballer.
I can't believe they let him go after watching him play for the Storm. Jesus. Yeah. He can, McCulloch is going to retire at least a year or two.
Yeah.
Wishart would have been their next 9. Now you're stuck with forcing Sullivan to maybe... Sullivan's not a long-term 9. He's a great half.
Yeah.
That was surprising. But Dragons fans, I think be happy. And look, if they win the Spoon, I'll be shocked.
They're not winning a Spoon.
Shocked.
Yeah.
They looked good. Ramsey, I think he's really good on the wing. Great finisher. I think he's swapping with Sloan in that, and I think that he wants to play fullback, but I think he's a really good winger.
He's a good winger.
He's a really good winger.
Yeah. That finish was insane. My back was hurting.
That finish was... That. And that's what I mean. If you put him at fullback, you don't get that.
Yeah.
Can Sloan do that? We don't know. But we know for sure Cody Ramsey, if he gets half a sniff, he's going to finish it. And that's like a forgotten art with wingers. We have all these massive wingers that take hit-ups out of their own end and it is really good. But that is priceless when you get a sniff of points in a game where it's so hard to score.
And then I think you look at the ball playing, which is so important for a fullback. Sloan compared to Ramsey. Sloan's the knockout winner there for me.
Sorry, I've just been looking, and literally half the websites say Samoa and half say Tonga for Amone. So I'm not sure. Christian Wolf is quoted, Tongan coach, saying he's eligible. But then Dragons, there's a few websites that say he's Samoa.
He might be both then.
He could be both.
Yeah, maybe his mother and father are Samoa and Tongan. Anyway, if we're saying it wrong, please let us know. Again, also apologies if we're getting his heritage wrong. He's a gun though, absolute gun. He is becoming one of my most exciting prospects in the NRL.
It's exciting to watch.
Yeah, far out. Dragons win Charity Shield, first time in 10 years. Congratulations. Funnily enough, the last time they won it, I was playing for them.
Oh, yeah?
I played in it, yeah. That's how long ago it was. we beat the Rabbitohs on the buzzer, and me and Adam Reynolds had got in a fight.
Jeez, you pick your targets, don't you?
No, he tried to fight me, and then Isaac Luke tried to fight me. That wasn't my fault.
That. No, thank you.
So this is what happened. So we were winning. We're up by like a try or whatever. They're on our line, attacking our line, and we're stripped for numbers. I shoot in, jam Reynolds. He drops the ball. We win the match. Then he pushes me because he was angry because he lost the match. And then I pushed him back, and then Isaac Luke come out of nowhere from behind and he started brouhahaing. But we won. So
how many Adam Reynolds would you rather fight before you fight one Isaac?
I tell you what, I've sparred enough and been in enough boxing rings. You don't know. You don't know until you know. The guys that look like not to worry about. Put it this way: a fist on your chin is a fist on your chin. Doesn't matter where it comes from.
Mate, fist from Isaac Luke, I'll tell you. Good God.
You could be the angriest guy in the world or the nicest guy in the world. A fist on your chin is a fist on your chin. I promise you that. So look, I think both teams, nothing to worry about. I think Latrell definitely coming back is Latrell needs to play the full season for South. If Latrell does get injured and is out for a substantial amount of time, that is a huge concern for me with the South.
Yeah, massively. Him and Cam Murray coming in is going to be huge. My last talking point, Campbell Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Paulo play last week against the Cowboys reserve grade side. I mean, he didn't overly impress for me.
I'm no closer to knowing who that other centre is.
And he's going to get a baptism of fire because he's going to mark Tony Staggs week 1. It's going to be a huge test for Paulo, and I thought he sort of struggled a little bit against the Dragons.
I don't think Paulo gets a spot, to be honest. I don't think he does. It's got to be someone else that...
I reckon they'll be stubborn.
You reckon?
Yep.
He struggled a bit the last couple of games. I think he's a good winger.
He's a great winger. He's proven he's a good winger.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's one of those situations sometimes where they've seen him coming through the grades.
Yeah.
So there must be evidence of him playing some good footy in the centres. But I agree with you. I feel he has really struggled in that centre position. Is Tass injured?
I think he's injured. He's not. He didn't play on the weekend. I think he must be
what
injured.
did impress me? Just his energy. The young fella that came on with the headgear, they reckon he's a young, raw talent. I forgot his name. Do you know who I'm talking about, Matt? He came on with the headgear. I think he's like 22. And apparently he's like, could be the next thing for them. And he impressed me. I loved his energy. I thought he took some really tough carries, really young. Came on in a crucial part of the match.
22 was Romano Cook.
Romano Cook?
I'm not sure if that's...
Is he a Fijian or...
Have a look. Also, Isaiah Tass, he's got a back injury.
Back injury.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, the guy that came on with the headgear, I liked him, and he's a young gun. Now, on to game of the round.
That damn wet weather. Doing us over again.
No, it's good. It's what we want. It's an ambush. Cowboys defeat the Broncos 26-6. Thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I've already spoken about this one a little bit. I thought Broncos were pretty disappointing. I think Reynolds has got some work cut out for him. Cowboys, though, very impressive. Obviously, you had Albert Kelly withdraw out of this one. Gamble came in. He played 6. I'd probably say Gamble was the better ball player in this one.
I honestly think, last week if you said pick the team, well, it would have been my 6. This week if you picked a team, Gamble would be my 6. And I'd almost even though I wouldn't do this, I'd almost push close to Ezra. That's how much I just don't know who should be that 6 now.
Yeah.
I think you go Gamble just out of loyalty. I honestly think you just go Gamble out of loyalty.
I think they'll go Walters.
I don't think so.
I'm going to back in Walters.
Nah. Fuck. Take some fucking balls to go Walters.
If Dobbin and all them were reporting that Walters had won it last week, he wasn't good on the weekend, don't get me wrong, but I also don't think Gamble was unbelievably... I think it's very similar to the Dearden situation that I think he had his foot in front. I think he'll hold on to it, but they could go so many ways here and none of them would shock
But that's the problem. That's the issue, is they've gotten to round 1 and there's still no clearer of who is the best 6 at the club.
Yeah.
He still hasn't played much footy. But I think we can all agree Ezra Mam is going to be the best 6 at the club. He may not eventually, but it's coming to a point where I'm like, man, I tell you what I would be doing. I'd probably be bringing Ezra Mam as my 18th man or 19th man just to get him into the system as soon as possible. Because a lot of the halves have had quite an opportunity at the Broncos over the last 12 to 16 months, or at least the 12 months to cement the spot. Like, it's free. That 6 jersey is free. It's sitting there waiting for someone to just go, I'm the guy. And no one has really stood out above the other person.
Yeah.
And so if I'm Broncos, I'm sitting there going, look, maybe we don't fast track Asmoran too much, but probably just get him around the system as much as we can because he seems to be the answer long term.
And I mean, they don't even have the Tamaro Martin headache yet either.
Yeah.
He'll come on as the season goes. Gamble, Walters, Kelly, Ezra Mam, Tamaro Martin. How many of them wear the 6 jersey at some point this year, you reckon?
That's something you can't do. You've just got to stick for a bit, at least for 10 rounds. I mean, unless we're just getting pumped. I don't know. I think perfect world, we go okay this year. We finish about 10th. Ezra Mam plays 4 to 6 NRL games. Just ease him into it. Then next year you basically go like, Ezra, it's your spot to lose, unless a 6 kills it.
Kev's no stranger to swapping and changing.
But that's the thing, though. I think Benny Eichen would have come in and been like, mate, we're not doing that again. How did that help us?
Yeah, surely Reynolds will be echoing.
And Reynolds will be saying the same thing. I can't deal with a different guy every week. Look, I don't know who the 6 is going to be. I really don't. There's been quite a lot of people online saying Ezra should be the 6. I just think that's way too early.
He's too raw. There's no one that they could name at 6 next Tuesday, and I'd go, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was quite surprised. I just felt like Walters had it. It was right there, and it just seemed like he just didn't seem to be energised and getting up and demanding the ball and setting plays up. He had some decent runs on the weekend. Don't get me wrong, but out of the 2, I just thought Gamble probably offered a bit more. Now, did Walters not get the ball as much because Gamble was demanding it so much? That could be a possibility. That does happen quite a lot in teams where you've got a guy that's just so dominant. And to be fair, Gamble's side was extremely dominant. I don't think Walters' side saw any good ball, really, especially for the first half at the very least. So
it's tough though, because it is just going to be so difficult. It's so different with Reynolds.
Yeah,
it's so hard that they're going into this season trying to decide between 5 guys who's going to wear the 6. The 7 is new to the club and he hasn't played a game yet.
Yeah,
personally, I think that if Reynolds was fit this year and he would have played in 2 trials, there'd be no question. Yeah. I think someone would have fit that mould.
Yeah, and
I probably lean towards Walters. I think that's the other thing that I take into my consideration. I think he'll be the best fit for Reynolds, but.
Yeah, I don't know. But the argument could be like Albert Kelly is probably the best attacking 6, as in purely ball running and that. Could he fit Reynolds better?
Yeah, I still think Walters has shown some flashes that he... Yeah, mate, I've got no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think Kevin Walters has any idea either. I think he's just trying to work
I just thought you got the trial there. You're in the 7 jersey. All you got to do is play an energised game.
Yeah.
And it just didn't seem like...
You never see this in rugby league. You never see a jersey thrown in the middle of 5 guys and you get the end of 3 weeks and go, well, fuck, I still don't know. No one has... There's been guys that have jumped ahead and dropped back, but then they've all evened out. What have they learnt from the last 2 weeks that they didn't know 2 weeks ago?
Well, it's got more confusing.
It's got more confusing because Walters has shown that he is actually a genuine contender there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Broncos in a nutshell. I left this note when I was watching it. 20 minutes to go, down by 14. There's a defensive kick on a line, and we don't even contest for it. 15 minutes to go. We're attacking their line. It's a cross-field kick. We allow them to catch it and tackle them. It boggles my mind because it's like, where's the competitive nature?
And I think the play you're talking about, it was Branko Lee that tackled him, and the commentator went, Branko trying to force him in. You're down by 20 points.
If you're
the ball's in the air, contest for the fucking ball.
Contest for the ball. We're 14 down. It's a trial match. What are we trying to do? Get a repeat set?
Yeah.
What? And that's where I just think that it's not Branko Lee specifically. It's across that whole team.
Yeah.
It's that killer instinct of just winning at all costs. I don't know. I think the whole team looked flat, to be honest. There wasn't really anyone outside of Haas and Carrigan. I thought Haas and Carrigan were fantastic. I thought when they were on the field, we looked really competitive. I thought Kobe Hetherington was good. But once Haas and Carrigan came off, I don't know. We just
flat.
We just looked flat. And I wonder, were we training to? I don't know. We can't get up for a trial. We're in a desperation mode right now. We're in desperation mode. So, yeah, I just hate to admit it, I was really disappointed with the trial. Does it mean that does it change my opinion of where I feel the Broncos will finish this year? Absolutely not. But it was just these little things that, just the competitive nature. You get a cross-field kick. It's right there for you to contest. You can score. Like, you can be the man. You can be the man. And you just go, no, I'll go for the safe option. It's like, bro, it's not 5 minutes in. And then, Selwyn Cobbo and the Pereira one, that was more, as a back, that was probably the fullback's ball to get because they came down the short side and Pereira's got to stay up. This is a drink water kick. And so that's just inexperience. And that's why I believe that with everyone fit, you don't have Selwyn at fullback. You start him either at centre or on the wing and you allow him to develop his game a bit further this year and then you start him at fullback next year. And there was also a defensive lap where... So put it this way, 2 kicks that they score off. If we had a more experienced person back there, they probably don't score. All of a sudden the score is, 14-6? Or let's say, let's say it's 16-6. So look, really disappointing night, but I just don't all of a sudden be like, oh, fuck, the world's burning.
Yeah, look, it's not the be-all and end-all, but it is concerning. I mean, history tells me that a Cowboys team without Jason Taumalolo isn't going to win many games of football.
Sure.
They look the best I've seen them in a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's got to do with the Broncos or I don't know. It's trials.
Haas did get sin bin for 10 minutes, which did hurt us.
Yep.
The concern as well is around that same period, we had a bunch of points scored on us. The same thing happened last week against the Titans.
But that's also going to be the reality this season. Guys are going to get sin bin and you've got to fucking deal with it.
Oh, for sure.
You've got to work your shit out. You've got to deal with it.
There's no denying it was absolutely disappointing. Yep. Like, there is absolutely no denying it. And I think Walters would have felt that. He would have gone and spoken to the boys about it. So, look, we just got to be better. And I don't know, as I said earlier in the piece, we've been saying this for 2 years now. We're missing that old school grit that we used to have, unfortunately. What else is there to say? Like,
well done to the Cowboys.
Yeah, well done to the Cowboys. Broncos, pretty disappointing or really disappointing. And I think that the late charge last week really band-aided what could have looked quite poor. And I did say last week that was one of the biggest negatives from the weekend of trials was A, the Tigers, and B, the Broncos 20-minute period. And, once again, it's about 26 points. Once again, we didn't get to fight back. So, yeah, really disappointing. I just hope it doesn't continue because it would be devastating if Reynolds was to come to the club and we were to continue to play that way and we've got Reynolds and Catewell. It's like,
And it also, for me, if I was other senior players in this competition, the Broncos are trying to recruit and I look at how it's played out. If it doesn't work with Adam Reynolds, it's a huge red flag.
Huge red flag. If I'm a guy like Payne Haas who has yet to extend and Reynolds has come, Catewell has come, and they don't manage to get better. I still believe we can work it out.
Oh, you can, yeah. But it is trials at the end of the day.
The concerning thing for me though is that look at the Roosters squad that ran out on paper. Look at the Broncos squad that ran out on paper on the weekend of the trials. Is there that much difference between the quality of it?
Yeah, that's the worry.
Not really. Like on paper, is there that much difference? You could argue, they've got Victor Radley. Well, we got Payne Haas. You know what I mean? Like you could argue, who else? They got Sam Walker. We got Selwyn Cobbo. So I understand it's a player in a key area, but even when Walker goes off and just the difference in the Roosters and the Broncos right now, obviously the Roosters roster is better, but is it that much better that even when their reserve graders playing, they still manage to... You're not looking at the Roosters going, they didn't try and catch a kick. You're not looking at those areas. And that's where you see the difference in the club. I truly believe if that Broncos squad had the same culture as the Roosters squad, that we could play close-ish to not their first grade side. The first grade side is a super side. But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I look at those two squads on the weekend, and I don't see that much of a difference in talent and ability on paper. I still think obviously the Roosters gun side, but yeah. So that is the concerning thing is that on paper we have quite a good side. Carrigan, Haas, Hetherington's quality. You've got Katoni Staggs, you've got Selwyn Cobbo.
It just seems like as a collective, the defensive attitude isn't there to me. I don't feel confident with the Broncos in defence at all. And, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be... I mean, if we're sitting here in 6 weeks' time and they're doing well and Adam Reynolds is braining it, I won't be shocked because that's the sort of calibre of footballer he is, but I'm probably more nervous now than I have been all pre-season about the Broncos.
That's fair. That's fair. I still believe that they'll finish around 10 to 12. Doesn't change my opinion there. But definitely disappointing. Definitely disappointing. Now, on to Storm beat the Knights. I think Storm, once again, have a great 9. That's just crazy. Wishart, he was really good. Munster looks...
Yeah, just on Tyran Wishart, like, I can't believe the Dragons let him go. He played hooker the other night. He's as good halfback, 5'8", fullback as he is.
He's barely played hooker, hey?
He's hardly played any hooker. He could be the most versatile guy in this competition over the next few years. He can just do everything. Wishart, obviously, his old man, Rod Wishart, champion bloke. I had Rod on my podcast last year and he spoke about how this came about, and Melbourne Storm rang Tyran. It wasn't his manager going to them. Rod mentioned that Melbourne have got some sort of system where they put these guys through it. It's almost like a test that they do or something, and it
like
comes
a mathematical test kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's like about your personality, and it comes out with certain traits. And apparently, Tyran nailed it.
Wow.
He's gone down there. I think he's living with Harry Grant and Brandon Smith, so you can imagine that fucking household. That'll be wild. And he's come in, played hooker. I would argue one of the harder positions to play, and did an incredibly good job for them. So I'm anticipating him to make his debut round 1. Do you think he'll start at 9?
Yeah, probably with Cheese and Grant. Is Grant out?
Yep. So
suspended?
It's him or Nicarima, essentially.
What, sorry?
Grant's suspended.
Yeah, Grant's suspended. Cronk also said that he reckons Wishart's number 1 in line to play. Yeah.
So what's Grant suspended for?
There was a tackle in the semi-final, was it? Who their last game? Penrith. I'm pretty sure he's got a 1-game suspension.
Isn't that fucking G up?
I want to say a head. What do they call it?
Suspension.
Head slam, maybe.
Oh, it just says suspension.
Okay, yeah, he's definitely out round 1.
So Wishart. Yeah. So they're down to their 3rd string hooker, and he played the best.
He's gone. Yeah.
Munster looks scary. He's looking fucking red hot. And that's what we're talking about in the off-season. This could have been the best thing for him.
Yeah.
Get on the straight and narrow. He's looking fit. He's looking strong. He's looking fast. He's looking silky.
He looks faster over 10 metres than I've ever seen him before.
For sure. His body, it's the best physique I've ever seen Munster have.
Yeah, for sure. And he looks a lot thinner, but guys are still just falling off him. Now he's just got that weird strength about him where guys just peel off him. Yeah. Mate, I thought, and like he moved to fullback. I fucking love him at fullback. But that try that he scored where he just went through the middle 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Mate, I haven't seen Munster run like that without the ball in his hand in so long.
Yeah.
It is a scary...
Shows you how good he is at fullback. Goes there 10 minutes, line break, try assist.
He'd be a top 5 fullback tomorrow if you put him there for me.
Top 3.
I wouldn't push back on it.
Like, remember in Origin when he went back to fullback for a bit? What do you got there?
Sorry, I was just going to say Grant was a crusher tackle on Dylan Edwards.
Yeah.
I can't remember it, to be honest, but...
Okay. Hughes is looking real good.
Hughes looked unbelievable.
Like fucking Melbourne Storm, bro. Melbourne Storm. We say it all the time, but Melbourne Storm look incredible. They look like their depth is all sorted. I'd probably say their only maybe concern is if a few of their front rowers get injured, but that's probably like any team.
Any team, yeah.
I actually think the Knights came out of this looking okay. Like, I know they got beaten 24-10, but I actually didn't mind it. The only concern I have is Best. Now, Best said it's just a cork, but it's just...
It's again, though.
It's just that, again, it's kind of like the Sam Walker situation. Now, Sam Walker a little bit different because he hasn't had years and years. But you're just like, man, I just want to see you on the field. No niggles, nothing. Is it time to be concerned with Best, or it was just a cork?
I'm concerned.
You're concerned?
Best is... I heard him on my podcast 2 or 3 years ago when he first sort of burst on the scene, and mate, he told me about his injury history then, and I sat there and went, "Ooh, Christ!" Like, it's been happening since he was 16. The poor bastard. Like, he's so talented. He's so determined.
Should he lose weight? As in, like, he's so muscular.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it time to just lose a bit of muscle
mass? You know
mass?
this stuff better than me. I don't know. But this isn't a 3-year issue. This has been a 7-year issue with Bradman Best.
Usually it's like if you keep getting injured like that, not usually, and this is all just from my experience, is like sometimes losing muscle mass just balances your body a bit better. And
he's such a stocky.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm worried about him. I don't know what to say. I wish him all the very best, and Newcastle need him to stay injury free.
Absolutely need him.
That's their strong edge with the way that Ponga plays and the way that Clune plays. They need a strike left centre.
I thought Dane Gagai offered a lot. I thought, as we said, Clune was really, really good. We've already kind of spoken about him. I think Clifford was solid. Thoughts on Ponga? He didn't look as energetic as I would have hoped. He
looked disinterested to me. And that's probably harsh. I don't know. Because you know what? I shouldn't say that. Because in defence, he came up with some big efforts.
He really
like, not disinterested, but just in attack, I don't know. He just looked like he couldn't quite find his way. I don't know. It was I don't know. It's been a reasonably disappointing. Mate, I can't believe I'm sitting here saying I've been disappointed in Ponga's last 2 games, but Newcastle are heaps better than I thought they'd be. If you know what I mean.
Which is probably a good sign.
Oh, it's a great sign. Yeah, it's awesome. I think Kurt Mann has played a big role in that.
Yeah, he's been a good 13. The
centre third, they're essentially splitting the field into 3. Clune's got the left, Clifford on the right, and then.
Do you think it's more a case of Ponga's just trying to find where he fits again?
I think
it's a new spine.
Yeah, it is a new spine, and they're playing very differently too.
Yeah.
And I think he'd obviously found a bit of safety in Mitchell Pearce, and Pearce knew how to use him as well.
For sure.
Whereas these guys, they're still trying to work themselves out. So, I don't know. It's, mate, I'm so mixed on Newcastle.
Yeah, I'm mixed as because I thought there was periods there where they looked really, really good.
So many things I see that I'm like, fuck. Mate, I mean, if you would have said to me, KP will be really quiet and the Saifitis, both of them won't play and they compete with the Melbourne Storm,
I would have said no way.
What planet are you on?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Like, I mean, you take out their 2 best middles, you take the 2 best middles out of any side, they should really battle.
Yeah.
They hung in there. Melbourne Storm made a few. I mean, at the same time, Melbourne, I think they had one where they grounded in the corner, they put it on the line. You know, people said, it should have been 30-10. It's like, yeah, okay. Brandon Smith also chipped over the top like he was kicking a balloon. I mean, it was just, I think Newcastle held their own, considering the guys. I'd be very interested to know why the Saifitis didn't play.
Yeah, injuries, surely.
Both of them? They both played the week before. They were both named as I don't know.
Maybe resting,
I don't know, but I would have thought that it would have been really good to give Spine another opportunity.
Maybe they were a bit like, we don't want to get them bashed up.
Yeah, maybe.
I agree with you. I thought it was a good showing for the Knights, really, to be honest. I thought that, you have to remember, this is the Storm. This is the Melbourne Storm. I thought Tyson Frizzell was fantastic. I think Clune and Clifford could really build something there. Put it this way, their half pairing gave me much more confidence than what I was feeling.
Heaps more.
6 weeks, 4 weweeks ago when Brayley went down, I'm thinking, oh shit. Watching Clune play as well as he did and Clifford be solid. So I'm in a better space with the Knights here.
The only thing I worry about is that I remember sitting here at the same point last year watching trials and watching Connor Watson at 13 going, he's going to be a revelation here. O'Brien swapped and changed him all year. I'm hoping the Joey influence. I'm hoping Joey is sitting there going, you need to keep Kurt Mann on the field for as much as he can. It's the other thing with Kurt Mann, and it'll sound like a negative, but he's too tough for his own good.
Absolutely.
He's going to tackle himself into an injury eventually at 13.
Surely, if you're Joey, if you're the coach, say, Kurt, we want you to get through work, but we need you in attack so bad, don't get through too much work in defence.
It's hard saying that to Kurt Mann.
I know. He's such a battler. He's such a battler. Fuck, Hughes looked good. Jerome, I know we're bouncing around here, but Jerome Hughes looked so good. Jerome Hughes, Munster firing, that's scary. With a Harry Grant.
Grant only played 20 minutes too.
And you've got Cheese at 13. Oh, man. They're so good. And Papenhuisen didn't even play.
Pappy didn't play. And, mate, if Nass keeps coming off the bench like he did the other day, fuck.
Yeah. They're so good, the Storm. Yeah, look, I'm in a better space with the Knights than I was. I'm in a better space. Is it Randell at 9?
Yeah, Randall, he looks
I thought he'd been
handy.
okay.
He's doing a job.
Yeah.
He's doing a job. He's solid. You know what you're going to get out of him.
Yep, for sure.
And he's going to deliver that every single week, so you build around that. And Yeah.
We all saw the clip of Kafusi recruiting Ponga. That was fucking hilarious.
Hilarious, yeah.
I don't think it's serious, guys. There was one guy that left a comment. He's like, "Bloke beer mustn't be selling in Newcastle because you want the worst for the Knights." I'm like, bruh, it's a joke. I don't actually think Kafusi is recruiting him. I thought it was funny though, like that, to play on it. Yeah, look, I think positive signs to both sides. Storm look red hot with crazy depth, and the Knights look much better than we thought. I think the key is the fact that Clune, like, if I'm being totally honest, for me, Clune wasn't even in the starting side going there. He was more of a depth half. But he has really, really impressed me. Like, really impressed me. I was just like digging into the lines, squaring up the defence, all that kind of stuff. I was impressed. So, look, I think there's a glimmer of hope for the Knights. I really do. A glimmer of hope.
It's great for Clune, isn't it? I mean, respectfully to him, if he was at the Dragons...
Yeah, he wouldn't get it. He wouldn't get a start.
He wouldn't. I don't think he'd even be in the conversation. I mean...
Which is a bit unfair because he's unfair,
yeah.
7.
But now he arrives at Newcastle. He gets an opportunity, granted at a team that I'm nervous about, but he gets an opportunity. He gets a shot to work with Joey too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's huge.
That is it for the week, guys. Have you got anything going on, Guru?
Yeah, no, we've got a Supercoach show on Tuesday night that we launched last week, Beers and Break Evens. That'll be back this week. So if you're a Supercoach fan, come and join us for that one.
Supercoach, all you Supercoach fans that love Bloke in a Bar.
Brought to you by Bloke in a Bar. We're making waves.
See, look, I tell you what, like we don't hate Supercoach. We just make jokes about them. Guys, next Monday, the 7th, new Bloke merch dropping, first of the year. I'm telling you, you're going to love this. Grab a case of Bloke in a Bar, and I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.